Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior, our Star Trek Adventures actual play here on Althaven. Jake's taking the night off, so I want to give a quick shout out to Noir, who is once again juggling multiple plates to bring us this actual play this evening. So thanks, Noir, for taking over.
No problem.
And we hope you're doing well, Jake. Yes, let's go ahead and kick things off because we're just a little behind tonight, and that's largely because of me. Let's go ahead and do quick announcements. The only announcement I have is that I'm going to be at Comic-Con starting, actually, yeah, by the way, Sam, starting this Wednesday until Monday. But Jody and I are going to be doing a signing at the Dark Horse booth at Comic-Con on Saturday. I will be there triple mast and with my head wrapped in plastic to try to avoid the exposures that I am terrified of at cons. But we will be there, and we hope to see you there if you are there looking to get a comic signed for the Rise of Hellfire comic that we did for Stranger Things, which today, by the way, Dark Horse apparently just announced that there is an RPG coming out where you can play Eddie, and they reference our comic. So I didn't know anything about that, but it's looking cool. But yeah, stop by.
Please don't wrap your face in plastic.
Yeah,
Thank you.
know it's bad. Yeah. Okay, that's all I got. That's all I got. Anybody else? Yeah. Just go.
Yeah, I'll go. Hi, I'm Drac. As usual, keep an eye out for Second Machinations. We're taking a short break for our editor to rest up and recuperate, and we'll be back releasing episodes. But the thing I will shout out is that I'm going to be over on Table Story on August 5th. At 3 p.m. Eastern in a one-shot where we're playing a game that's going to be hitting Kickstarter that same day called Draconym. Had nothing to do with me, surprisingly, despite the name. But it's it's a dragon riding kind of Dragon Riders teach RPG, and it's going to be very fun. So I'm very excited for that. We've got a very cool cast. One of them you might recognize, Nega Oryx, is going to be one of the players there.
Negs!
So they're playing with Negs again. We're going to be bringing back the Tidal. We're bringing back the Tidal Blades group because we love playing with each other so much. We're like, let's do it one shot. Let's just do that. So if you enjoyed the chemistry of the Tidal Blades group, check out Draconym over on Table Story on August 5th.
Hear me out. Sacred Draconizations. Thank you.
There you go.
I would like to remind everybody that Sam came up with the name StreamPunks. This is a trend. All right.
They're good at what they do. What can you? What are we supposed to do about it?
They're the Wolverine of names.
But what I do is not very nice.
They're the best at what they do. But what they do is not very nice. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue. All right, Caitlin, what you got?
It is. I play GeoGuessr on Twitch on Sunday nights. And I put all of the VODs over on YouTube. They're extremely fun. You should check them out. Give me a like, give me a watch, and learn some things about the Earth because I have a very good time. Also, I, as is tradition, I am planning my trip to Gen Con the week before I go. So I'm announcing I'm going to Gen Con. You can find me in my gargantuan cyberpunk respirator mask. I think it looks very cool, and it also makes me extremely easily identifiable. If you're around, you should say hi. I'll be meandering mostly outside, but I am going. And if people know of cool things that are happening or meetups or stuff, you should tag me and let me know. I posted about it earlier today. I'd like to hear what's up, what people are doing, because I have not been tuned in, as aforementioned, week in advance planning. That's what I got.
Sweet. Anybody else? We jump into the game. Yeah.
I'll go real quick. Hey, I too will be at Gen Con, so I'll be probably bugging Caitlin about stuff. I should actually reach out since you're gonna be back again. We could do the TLE meetup again.
We totally should.
2 years running. Other than that, we have our Heroes of Hollywood pull list episode for tomorrow. Thank you all for helping me with the GoFundMe and the absolutely ridiculous run on Dorito Jesus merch. It's very much appreciated. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. It's been a rough period. And yeah, you guys have helped me get through. Other than
that and the Flav Saya.
Baja blessings be unto you.
We've got to stop this. Other than that,
and we won't.
That is it. And I'll pass it. Sorry. One last thing. The premiere of my new show and another thing is this week. It is Wednesday at 8 p.m. Come watch 4 of my very best friends rant about any subject they want for 30 minutes, and you get to vote for who's right as hell. And last thing, I know about the title, guys. I can't fix it from here. I don't have the controls. I'm doing my best. Okay, now I'll pass it along.
All right. Anybody else? I'm looking at you, Sam. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah.
Earth is the best planet for human habitation. Secondarily, Cool Ranch Moses. I yield.
Very good. All right. With that, let us see if we can jump into tonight's episode of The Last Excelsior.
Enter.
Welcome back, everyone. Yes. So just to reiterate, as we're about to jump into tonight's episode, just as a refresher, as the players know, but I have allowed the players to keep their momentum from the previous session. Typically that resets at the top of every session, but we left off at something of a, I guess maybe a cliffhanger? I call it a cliffhanger? Is that what they're called?
Not in space, no.
Something.
The infamous Eric.
Are we
What
bluff dangling? Are we?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, Captain Jaren very diplomatically attempted to establish some kind of dialogue with the Tholians that had just shown up in the Bejor system. As a quick recap to anybody who was here previously or may have missed it, the Tholian dreadnought, the dreaded Tholian dreadnought known as the Keticus, which briefly stalked the USS Ross for a time before vanishing, and then reappeared rather randomly trying to intercept the Ross, if y'all remember that rather random moment before the Ross also escaped, has now reappeared yet again and seems to be hounding the USS Pride. Not only is it hounding the USS Pride, but it seems somewhat focused, as it's just been revealed, specifically on Chief Tech. It seems like the Tholians want to get their hands on the Bolians. So, this Tholian ship has shown up in a Tarantula. It is the Tarantula class dreadnought, a scale 9 Tholian cruiser. It is the largest non-Borg ship that the Federation has encountered. And this includes the carriers that were used by the Dominion during the Dominion War, which were enormous in size. They were about scale 8, I believe. Tholian dreadnought has only been seen a few times, and not much is known about it by the Federation databases, just that it's extremely large and that it has largely kept to itself, except in the instances where it was chasing the USS Ross around the galaxy for some reason. Well, now they've shown up, and they are demanding access to Chief Tech. Specifically, the Universal Translator has picked up that they're asking about the Bolian. They demand the Bolian, that they're calling the key. But it's not entirely clear if the Universal Translator is revealing what they're actually saying or if it's just giving us an approximation of how we would understand it. Now, Griffin Wing has launched and was flying in formation when the Tholians themselves launched Widow Fighters. The Widow Fighters have not moved into an attack formation, but they have split, and it looks like they're moving into a formation as Cadence has been able to surmise. The Tholians have a weapon that's rather iconic. It's the Tholian web. It's a weapon that has evolved over time. In the old days, the first encounter with this weapon was the USS Enterprise, James T. Kirk. Nowadays, it hasn't really been deployed against Federation starships, but Federation starships are well aware of what it's capable of doing. There's a lot going on right now. And to make matters even more frustrating, upon showing up, the Tholians have jammed communications, and they've released some kind of scattering dampening field across the upper atmosphere of Bajor that's prevented beaming. You can't communicate with the surface either. There's been almost a near total blackout, and it's not entirely clear what the motivations of the Tholians are at this point, though it does not seem like they're going to be doing this with a soft touch. It seems like they are somewhat demanding. But right now, we're picking up where we left off with Cadence becoming aware of these multiple fighters that have launched. Cadence, you're counting on sensors. There are 12 Widows that have currently launched and are in split formations in a flanking formation alongside both sides of the USS Pride. These Widow fighters, by the way, look strangely similar to the Tarantula class dreadnought itself in a much smaller format. They essentially look like diamonds made of this strange hull material. You don't detect or see any obvious viewports. They just look like metal spear tips, three-dimensional spear tips are just kind of floating in space and move in perfect formation. You do see that they are leaving this sort of deep purple energy trail behind them, denoting what their impulse engines are somehow exposed. But for the most part, it's a strange sight. Nothing like what they saw in the Dominion. Right now, there's communication silence. Now, as a quick reminder, too, for the scene, you guys did contact DS9 and call for backup. DS9 did acknowledge. You haven't heard from them since, but DS9 being a Federation starbase and a highly trafficked area, to say nothing of the fact that the Federation has allies in this part of space, it is safe to say the USS Pride can expect backup to be showing up. DS9 is only a few minutes away by warp. So, we are starting now with Chief Tech Planet side, along with the scientists that are in the middle of conducting this operation. And this,
I believe we beat. Did we beam him up?
No. Beam
Yes, we
Tech?
did. Yeah.
No.
We're hoping to, but we haven't.
I don't believe you did. I believe that there's a scattering field on the planet and you weren't able to get
Oh,
him
we
out.
were going to. That's right. That's what it was. I was like, I thought that command was given.
No.
Okay.
Y'all were prevented from beaming. The attempt was made.
I see. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Tholians have put a lockdown on everything, and y'all have lost contact. But Tech knows that something is up. Tech knows that there's a Tholians in the upper atmosphere. So, with that, we're going to start with, if you will, cameras on our captain. On the bridge of the USS Pride, you've just been given the update that these two wings of Tholian web Widow fighters have established a formation, but they're holding formation. It's also worth noting, too, Tholians have still not activated their weapon systems. They still have not raised shields, and they have not energized any of their weapons right now. But they are in what looks to you, Jaren, as somebody who studies tactics and strategy for a living, it seems to you that they are in a stiff defensive posture. To you, it reads like they're flexing right now. But it's not. Their demands have been very shortly communicated. So, it's possible there's room for dialogue still, but you might need to try a different approach.
How much momentum do we have?
3.
I would like to rally.
Good call. I think you rallied last time but I think it's totally fine to do it again here at the top of this episode. I think it's appropriate in a two-parter like this. So,
what was the limitations you put on rally again?
Not so much. Just if you can, I just want to make sure that it fits into the flow of the narrative. So if you just want to enact a rally, it's totally fine. It's just one of those things where it's not a button you can continuously press, but here before combat, you can totally do it and enact and empower your crew for sure.
Okay, so if we end up in combat, though, that option is turned off, right?
Theoretically, if you were to tell me I'm going to spend a determination to use rally again or something like that, it's in a dramatic moment, like if the Pride is in desperate straits and you rallied again, I would probably say yes.
Got it. Okay. In that case, I'm going to rally, and essentially the rally is going to be, all right, so we are very clearly outmatched, but that doesn't mean that we've lost. It means that we can't win off of sheer strength. So that means we are going to win off of strategy, beat them with our mind, not our brawn. What is our science jockey's name?
Raleigh.
Raleigh.
Raleigh, if I could have you pull up everything that you know about the Tholians, the Tholian web, and general arachnid species and their webbing. It's no surprise. It's clear where they've gathered their inspiration from. I think insightful fighting might be the key to victory here. And I would like to then create the trait insightful fighting.
Okay.
So here, let's go ahead and roll. Would you guys mind if I spend one momentum to get an extra die?
You should do that.
Yeah,
Thank
go ahead.
you.
I think that's smart.
So anybody who is watching who has arachnophobia, I promise there will be no actual spooters in this episode.
Let's see here. I've got too many tabs open.
Oh, I know that
Just
one.
keeping tabs on things.
God.
I'm gonna
All right.
award myself threat.
Um,
Go for it.
here we go. This is risky, but why not? I would also like to use a determination with the value being focused on the big picture. It's right now, it's not about winning the battle, it's about winning the war. Insightful fighting is about making sure that the moves that we make are the right one, because all we have to do is last.
Okay.
All right. And when I spend determination, my effects are doubled, so I'm getting 2 ones on this rather than just the one.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do our 3 rolls of presence and command.
There would be dramatic music playing at this moment as Jaren basically, as the camera would kind of swivel around as Jaren takes the center chair and gives the speech.
All right, so that's going to be 2 1s and a 13, which is under 16. So that gives us 5 momentum back.
1 floating.
Perfect. I'm using it for more information. What I am looking for is the Tholian web has been defeated in the past. How? And how can we replicate that with what we have?
That'll put us at 4. 2 for the trait, insightful fighting, 1 for obtain.
Mm-hmm.
So what you are able to dig up, and I'm just going to pull this up so I can make sure that I get the accurate, because it's been a hot minute since I've seen this episode of TOS. But usually what you get as Raleigh pulls up the Federation database, literally pulling on the files of the 5-year journey of the USS Enterprise, what comes up on the tactical display next to the visuals that you see in front of you on the center chair is that the Enterprise escaped the Tholian web utilizing spatial interface and energy discharges from the ship's engines to disrupt the web. And that's how they were able to break free. You also note that the web itself, the Federation has not seen the web used against any of their starships since that encounter. But what they do note is not only does the web have the ability to crush a ship's hull, but it also drains a ship's systems. So it literally, almost like if you were caught in a net and you were struggling to get out, you eventually weaken and then you die. Is kind of how the web works.
Perfect. I think the final part of my turn is just giving that file to engineering and telling them to prep it. So if we make contact with the web, deploy the countermeasures to get us out of the web. What's going to kill us is if we're struggling in the quicksand. I want us to be calm knowing that we have a rope.
I am going to spend 2 threat to add a complication to the scene.
I will take stress to counter the complication by taking however much stress against whatever your complication was going to be. I can nullify it.
How are you doing that?
Let me find the page. I just had a player do shout out to you, Captain Hydrus. He showed me it in the book. When a GM activates complications, I can take stress to shut it down.
Okay, just to be clear, I'm not activating a complication. I'm creating a scene trait. I'm spending threat to create a trait for the scene. So it's not. So it's going to complicate things, but a complication is literally just like.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said you were activating a complication.
No. But yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yes, you can actually take stress to your track to avoid that, and it's pretty fucking useful. So yeah. But this is basically creating a trait for the scene. Gotcha. And that trait is, I'm going to call it. Oh, what should I? What would be a good term for it? Call it. I'm just going to call it diagnostic mode. When you send, I'm setting it the difficulty of this trait. I'm going to set it at, well, I've spent 2, so I'm going to just set it at 1, so it's in diagnostic mode. But essentially, the purpose of the trait is just that there is now something in the way of completing your order. As Commander Pavin responds, Captain, I can get on that, but this engine we were just finishing off doing test modes for the engine tests. We're not in any position right now to emit any kind of interference through the engines or the deflector dish. I'll need a minute.
I would like to spend an ox point to activate our engineer.
Ox points.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So we're activating the Ox crew. Let me pull up Pavin's stats. And would somebody like to roll me a die?
4.
Damn it.
Yeah, Sam was not going to let that one pass. Okay, cool. So let me just pull that up. With that, here we go. 4. Thank you, Michael Harris, for that Ox point. And you're going to be activating Pavin as a supporting character?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then Pavin does not need to rely on receiving orders from anybody from the main crew. Pavin can now call upon one of his values. If it's, well, his values don't match the scene, but it doesn't matter because you've given him a direct order. So he can call upon that, and he can make a roll to try to remove that trait. So with that, he can. That'll be what he is doing on his action. We're not in combat, but yes, he can now. Basically, I can now roll, unless somebody would like to roll for the support character. Otherwise, I will do it right now. I will give the option.
I'll roll.
Okay. In that case, let me just see what Pavin's got here. Specialist. Oh, well, wouldn't you know it? He actually has maintenance specialist as a focus. So to bring us out of diagnostic mode and to bring the engines back up to full energy, to full power, I'm going to set the difficulty of this. Well, I'm just going to put it at a standard 2. It's just to remove the trait. So go ahead and roll me 2d20. and you're going to need to roll control engineering. So you're going to need to roll a 15 or lower. And anything 4 or lower is a crit.
I rolled a 13 and a 1.
That's 1. That's 3 successes. So you bank 1 momentum.
Let's motherfucking go!
Because you activated that as a support character, you get that momentum. And so you hear Pavin go, I'm on it. Aye, Captain. A few moments later, Evrali swivels around and says, Sir, the mains are online. I'm working this out. Sending configurations down to engineering. We'll have it up and running in just a moment, sir.
Good to know. Now let's see if the quicksand is going to come to us.
That was the fastest trade I've ever created and lost. Literally, like someone saying "God bless you" before I finish sneezing.
We're sneaky like that. We got a good crew.
Yeah. So, okay. What's up, Cadence? You look like you've got something.
When I get camera, yeah.
You got camera because I was about to show you what you were seeing next. But but I'll let you go first.
If you'd like to tell me what I see before I act, that seems reasonable.
You see what looks like 4 additional craft emerge from the tarantula, and they don't look like they're heading in formation. They also look like they're a different model or make than the Widow Fighters. They don't quite have the same aerodynamic properties as you might expect in something that could fly through atmosphere, or that's something that could you navigate space. They don't have that same diamond-esque shape. Instead, this one looks a little bulkier. And it looks like there's 4 of them, and it looks like they're headed planet side. You just see them break and start heading down.
All right, Griffin Wing. These Tholians are in a big ship. They have a whole lot more fighters than we do, and they have only one tragic disadvantage. They are not us. Evac, stealth, I want the 2 of you to break off, go planet side, avoid their vector. Rest of squadron, I want you to cover for their repositioning. Don't worry about the Widow Fighters unless the Widow Fighters make you worry about them. The most important thing is getting evac and stealth into position over Bayshore. Copy?
Copy that.
All right. Get ready to break in 3, 2, break.
Anybody on the view screen sees Griffin Wing just suddenly, in perfect synchronization, just split off and begin to split up and break away. As that's happening, you see there's an immediate reaction from the Widows. Both formations begin to split the same, and you see there's 12 total, so 6 and 6 break away. A total of 3 and 3 break away, so a total of 6 are headed towards Griffin Wing at this point.
All right, that leaves the rest of us to cover their reposition. This one's probably going to hurt. Birds, but if anyone can do it, we can.
Okay. So, as the Widows begin to close in on you, you are closing in on the 4. You've instructed 2 of them to follow the 4 that are headed down to the drop, and the rest of
on
you
a different vector, also toward Bayshore. I am not looking to engage them. I have no interest in engaging them.
Clearly not. You're basically doing the wing wave. You're not actually getting in behind them or getting into attack position.
No, I have no desire to engage with them. Stealth should go to silent running once they get into low Earth or low Bajoran orbit.
Awesome. In which
with
case,
the evac specialist.
In which case,
let me know when that happens.
The Tholians that break away, that start heading towards Griffin Wing, they too look like they are on a sort of split vector. They're not beelining for you guys, but instead they look like they're running somewhat far back adjacent of their 4 ships that are headed down planet side. So what you get, Cadence, from this, without even having to make a roll, your combat instinct kicking in, is they're also taking kind of the same posture that you are. They're following through on their intent, but they're making their presence known that they are there as well. So it's like the 2 of you are kind of doing the exact same thing on opposite ends of where these 4 ships are headed planet side. Once again, denoting that it doesn't look like they want to engage.
Symmetrical actions are ideal given that they have the disadvantage of not being us.
All right. At this point, Avrali is going to point out that there has been 4 additional ships that have broken away from the Tarantula and are now headed down. The Catechus has launched 4 additional ships that look like they're headed to planet side. Avrali also swivels back in their chair and looks at you and Captain and says, "Sir, I'm not sure. Sensors are having difficulty penetrating the scattering effect, but I would guess those are some kind of transports. I still can't get a lock or a read on anything planetside, sir."
So we know what they're after. The transports going on the ground are going to be to pick up Mr. Tech. Let's see if we can snag him first. I would like.
let me add this trait to the scene too. The beaming, the scattering field is a level 4 trait that is on the scene, so that you guys can still engage with it.
Yeah, that's exactly the plan. With insightful fighting, I would like to increase its rank. The next part of being insightful in our combat is establishing communications. So I would like to have this in direct contrast to the scattering fields.
Okay.
This is going to represent a large portion of our forces being used in particular to reestablish communications. I would like to. How much momentum do we have?
5.
Yeah, 5.
5.
Cool.
Did we spend one after Pavin?
To add information. Oh no, you got that
was
bonus
a
momentum
floater.
back, but he didn't spend it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I would.
I think are we not maxed out then?
We had 1 floating, then we used 2 to create a trait.
No,
1
we used
for
3
obtain.
because it was the 2 and the
Yeah.
obtain, right?
Yeah, to obtain.
And the that's where my
Yes. And then Pavin got us back up.
got us back.
And that's why we're at 5.
Right.
We have.
Yeah, I would, because it has to be attached to a role. I would like to give my helms officer the command to maneuver us closer to planetside, just ever so slightly. Reason being, maneuver is essentially your rally. That's going to give us more momentum, and then we can tether either strengthening our trait or weakening the scramble. Either one works for me. Because
does the trait that you use the momentum for have to be related to the roll?
generally speaking, but we could justify either way because we are moving closer to reestablish communications with planetside.
Cool.
Okay, so you're going to move the USS Pride into a very, very low orbit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At that point, Cadence, you notice the Pride behind you is suddenly banked and is coming about. You see she's turning.
If I could,
yeah, what's up?
I could just, rather than proximity, it's direction. I want to put our communications array in the direction of planetside. I don't want to move the ship closer.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you want to kind of keep the orbital range, but you want to try to just basically point the antenna, as it were.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, so doing your best to sort of angle the Pride, it is going to put your broadside to the Catechus to do that.
Okay.
Which just that it's not going to be, weapon systems haven't come online just yet, but it is showing your ass a little bit in that you are presenting a much larger target to that ship.
Mm-hmm.
The Catechus does not react though when you start to bank. When you notice that the Pride starts turning, as you angle the ship so that the Bejor is essentially in front of you now, you notice the Catechus remains at station keeping. It seems like the only movement right now are through her fighters. The Widow fighters are staying right where they were. It doesn't look like they're trying to reposition themselves to get on both sides of the Pride. It looks like they're staying where they are, which is curious.
Okay.
But the others that have broken away are still running adjacent and kind of mimicking what they see Griffin doing.
All right. So, two things. I'm waiting for your maneuver roll whenever you can.
Was this GM? Was this a thing that required a roll?
Maneuvering is it's essentially Helm's version of rally.
Yeah,
This
you
is a way
basically
to
get to
pump
do it
it.
to generate momentum here. So it's super useful. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I mean, do we want to juice this? If I buy a die, I get cautious.
Let's do it.
I think it just
All right.
depends on how much you want to spend bonus momentum doing something, because you're going to generate a lot. You're already almost maxed out, so whatever
Yeah.
you roll here to juice it up more is going straight to the bonus pool. that
Let's
you'll
do
have
it.
to spend.
But
Yeah.
keep in mind, we have a trait that's at 4 stacks that we need to bring down.
Don't worry
And
about
it's
it.
2 per stack.
So we're working on it. Okay, here
Yeah.
we go.
Don't worry about the trait. That's
Sure?
me. Yeah. I'll send you the text.
Gotcha.
Oh my
Copy.
god.
Oh boy.
Sorry. No, it's fine. No, it's 3 successes, but I rolled 11, 11, 11.
The odds of rolling 3 of the same numbers on a d20 are pretty astronomical. So, not, like,
I mean, that was with my one reroll, but like
that's amazing. That's amazing.
How do people feel about angel numbers? Does anyone want to look into the?
Yeah. So those are your lottery numbers: is 1 1 1
Holy
1
crap.
1 1. So just make sure to write that down.
That's 3. So we've got 1 floating if we want to start spending.
Bonkers. Okay, great.
Oh my
The
gosh.
Ketika stays at station keeping. You see the USS Pride starts to slowly turn to port. You put planet side, the horizon of Bejor, basically directly in front of the ship. So now it's on the bow. The Ketika stays exactly where she is on starboard, and you see again the Widow fighters are not moving. No one's engaged yet.
Okay. So what did that bring our momentum to?
We are full with 1 floating.
Want an obtain or something? Or
Hmm?
we want to juice the insightful trait more?
I say we choose the positive trait, and we get ready for the Griffins to do their thing. We would like to put. How do we feel about making it 3 stacks on insightful fighting? The first stack would be essentially being informed about the web. The second would be strengthening our communications. Third would most likely be essentially having planned for a situation like this. So if we do need to scramble, Griffin Wing will know where to meet us. Team?
Yeah.
I'm into it if we've got it to spend. As long as there's stuff left over for everybody else, I think that's great.
All right.
Yeah. So put us down to 3.
Right. So insightful. Yeah, we're doing insightful fighting 3.
Okay, and you're going to. Were you trying to get more information about the Tholians?
So what this is so the first stack was about getting information on the web.
Right.
The second
right.
stack is about improving our communications.
Okay.
So if we make a move to reestablish our communication, this trait will be in benefit of that. And the third one is essentially having practice drills like this where we are disconnected from each other and knowing what to do and where to meet, even if we can't speak with each other. So
okay,
if
that's good. That makes sense because you guys were warned about the Ketikis, so it totally makes sense that you were like, okay, we should probably talk about preparing ourselves if this thing ever crosses our path.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that's where we are, and it's just okay. Let's.
All right. In which
Yeah.
case, Devar and Moranth are currently the 2 griffins that have broken away and are headed sort of adjacent, but not on an intercept course, with the 4 transports that are headed down planet side to Bayshore. Avrali confirms that their course trajectory will put them directly into the Bajoran city where Tech is. And Avrali is convinced now, just as they slip away from sensor range and into the interference cloud, that it is in fact a transport ship, and they were detecting at least 8 Tholian life forms. inside one of the ships. Theoretically, they would all have 8 to them, which, Jaren, again, somebody who literally worked in intelligence and tactical during the Dominion War, that Tholians are very, very difficult to understand what they're up to. They just don't behave the way typical species do that the Federation has encountered. But that to you sounds like an invasion force. 8 per shuttle is somebody going down there with a squad to make some noise. However, it's worth noting, again, there still have been no immediate gestures of threat or weapons. The Catechist is still weapons offline, shields are still down. So something is different.
I would like to send our reserve power to the Peregrine fleet.
Reserve power?
To sensors for us?
Yep, to sensors to activate.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna spend reserve power to enhance sensors through. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so you're basically enhancing the relay from the Peregrines and back, which is smart because they have literal eyes on target. So, okay, then I tell you what. Using reserve power, that is okay, and then okay. Why don't we do this? This is not whether or not you were successful. This is going to determine exactly what it is you're getting back. So if you would please, because Avrali is basically reading this sensor relay here. I'm just going to go ahead and give, since you're using reserve power, I'm going to go ahead and give the success to Griffin Wing. So Griffin Wing is successfully seeing and scanning this because they are not being interfered with. There's not as much space of interference between them and their target for scanning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one of you all roll for pride. And I'm going to roll for a variety real quick.
Let's go ahead and activate another aux point.
It's one per scene.
It's 1 per scene, yeah.
Gotcha.
So you've got Pavin. So if you want to use Pavin can do something here as opposed to Avrali. Because Avrali is Avrali's your science officer, but not communications. Like you can kind of.
Then we'll have our engineer handle it.
Okay, so then we could have Pavin. What are specialties? Emergency repairs, impulse, fundamentals, plasma energy systems. Nothing's going to help here.
Sorry, Ox Crew, I'm trying to get y'all in.
You completed a task where. Oh, okay. Hold up.
Good to know, John.
Because when you guys have me activate one of your support characters, I essentially get to play Star Trek Adventures. It's so nice. I get to be a player finally. I swear, if I ever get to play this game, I want to be ship's doctor so bad. Let's see. Okay, so there is a trait that I can activate with Pavin that I have yet to activate, and I've been dying to do it. Okay, so then numerous species psychology. Oh, that's what that is. Wait. Oh, it's not the same. Oh, it's not the same as Star Trek Adventures First Edition. Oh, interesting. They got rid. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to check one more thing. Because in Star Trek Adventures First Edition, you could actually call upon your symbiont, if I remember correctly, to gain a skill. And it was super powerful. You could just be like, what does the experience of the ages tell me? Oh, but hold on. There's something else I could do. He's chief engineer.
That is a new talent called Walking Encyclopedia. You could spin momentum to get any focus that you want temporarily.
That's awesome. And that's a trait?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. He doesn't have it, unfortunately. But
Fortunate. I don't like it.
That
I like the sentiment. I don't like the
I
name.
was torn between
Rolling.
I was torn between two traits, walking encyclopedia and the one that I ultimately ended up wanting to go with.
The less bipedal option, I hope.
Oof. Didn't catch that. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're getting a
Oh,
dose
the rest of it I love.
That
That was like the pejorative nickname I received in elementary school.
Also, what we just saw were flashbacks.
I think the
Oh.
same thing happened back in Perseverance, actually, because that was a tie thing.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Can he's activated? Can I spend a point of momentum here?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I may not need to though.
Okay.
So let me. I'll roll for him this time. Let's see. Okay. So this is. So he's basically going to use reserve power to boost the signal to get back. Okay. So I'm going to set the difficulty of this. Well, it's the difficulty's 4. So I'm going to buy a d20 with momentum. So he's rolling 3. And yep, he's using power systems. All right, let's see what he gets. 3. I'm gonna reroll. Oh, he got a 2, a 14, and a 13. But he is a chief engineer. I'm gonna spend a momentum and okay, let's do it. He's gonna might as well. Let's see what happens. He's just gonna roll 1. Okay. So, go ahead and roll me the USS Pride if you would, please. Let's see how the Pride does. So the
Who's
Pride.
rolling Pride.
Yeah, who wants to roll Pride? So,
I haven't rolled my rainbow die in a while.
okay, so the Pride. Just to be clear, this is information that is coming back to the Pride, which means the Pride is actually going to make a comms check here, I believe. Yep. So this is going to be comms, and I'm going to say engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
like
for
13?
yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
So go ahead and roll that 1 die.
Roll pride.
Tell me what you get.
Roll Pride.
That's a 6.
That's what you needed. I got 3 successes. That's the 4th. So he meets the difficulty. Basically, y'all make sure to check. You no longer have reserve power. However, you were able to make a direct connection using that sweet advantage that having Griffin Wing at the point of Pride, basically beam back information like a bloodhound straight back to the Pride, where other starships would have failed to actually have been able to see what's going on. Griffin Wing gives you a rather static but fully visible frame of sensor readings coming back to you, to the Pride, about what's going on. You see the 4 transports entering into the atmosphere, and the Pride is actually able to keep track of the 2 Griffins that are running sideways. However, one of them just suddenly starts to fade from sensors. You just watch the energy readings just sort of disappear, almost like it was slipping into a cloud.
Helmsman. Give the fleet the shimmy. And I'd like for this to play into the insightful tactics. It's going to be a tactic that we set up initially.
Mhm.
In the shimmy, it represents transport the target.
It represents what's that?
It represents the command. Essentially, fulfill mission objective. In which this case would be transport the target. We are transporting tech onto the Pride, and then we're dipping.
Okay.
I have to do mine first to activate?
Mhm.
All right.
So, just real quick,
Mhm.
the trait, the scattering effect trait in place,
Yes.
makes transport impossible to the Pride.
I thought it was difficult. I thought it was a level 4 trait, which is distinct from impossible.
It's a magnitude 4 trait that makes beaming impossible. So long as that trait is in place, beaming cannot take place.
Which one? Is it the 4 stack that advances the difficulty, or is it making it impossible?
The stack is the stack is the magnitude to get rid of the trait.
Okay.
The trait itself makes transport impossible. However, the Griffin Wing cheats, because the Griffin Wing can slip below the scattering field and beam to Griffin, where that is not. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can transport anywhere underneath that scattering field in the upper atmosphere. So when Griffin Wing gets below that in the upper atmosphere, then tech can be tagged and beamed onto a griffin. But getting tech straight to the Pride is not possible. You'll have to checkpoint it. Yeah.
I'd like to perform then, if I may, a wing action, making a presence and command check.
Okay.
Evac, prepare to yoink on my mark.
You can hear the smile in Morant's face going, preparing to yoink, Commander.
And on a wing action, would you say my leadership kicks as a focus?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good. Doesn't end up being relevant, but I make the check if successful. I'd like to spend 2 momentum if y'all are cool with it.
Let's do.
To allow a vessel to benefit from a signature support ability for 1 action. That ability will be Transporter Relay Race. If the trait makes the transporter's task impossible, change that effect to instead increase the difficulty by 1. So we can pull.
So this ability makes it possible to basically rubber band Chief Tech through the scattering field and back up to the Pride?
It either, like, the reason I was getting into the question earlier is if it's increasing the difficulty, you ignore the effects of the trait. If it's impossible, you just increase the difficulty of the transporter check by 1. So I was like, which one are we dealing with here?
Okay, gotcha.
So now the impossible is possible. And because 24th century transporters can work from 40,000 kilometer, which corresponds to geosynchronous orbit, we don't have to get anywhere near medium, let alone low Bajoran orbit. We can yoink before they are even into the clouds.
Okay, cool. So then this is going to be a difficulty 5 check then?
No. So it's the standard check of transporters under this scenario, because it is not a pad to pad, but rather a site to Pride pad. It will be baseline a difficulty 1 check, because we have the trait and transporter relay race makes impossible possible with an increase of DC. It will be a difficulty 2 check with the Pride's control engineering assisted by sensor science.
Okay, so
this is basically the advanced transporter's talent.
Gotcha. So then the where I'm getting stuck a little bit is because now that you have removed the effect of the trait, making it impossible, and instead of increase the difficulty, my argument would therefore be now that it's possible, now the magnitude of the trait comes into effect as the difficulty. So then it wouldn't be a standard. It wouldn't be because it doesn't make sense to me that an impossible task now becomes a standard difficulty task, even with the advanced technology.
It's not. That's why the difficulty is increased by 1.
Right. So now it's a difficulty 3 check, right?
Difficulty 2, because if it's site to site, that would be difficulty 2, and then up to 3. This is site to the Pride's transporter pad. So it's difficulty 1 up to 2.
Okay. So then, yeah, I think because the way traits are written out is that the magnitude can also function as a difficulty number. So if you're able to breach that it is now possible to do the impossible, I would make a case that, okay, well, then you're rolling against the difficulty of the magnitude of the trait now that you can roll against the trait. But I also want to acknowledge that this is kind of what the Griffin Wing was built for, and it's a great action sequence. And the Kedicus is not expecting the Pride to have a wing of starfighters that are literally designed for rapid transport in situations where people are unattainable. So it seems to me that while for the audience that's watching who are familiar with Star Trek lore, the reason why I'm going to roll forward with this at full speed is because this is literally what Griffin Wing was designed for. It was designed to be able to do exactly what Sam is describing and get a transporter signal into difficult situations and back to the Pride where no one else would have been able to do it. So you're using the rescue aspect of Griffin Wing to full effect here. In which case, you receive recognition from Morinth that she has a lock on Chief Tech that is currently in the Science Center. Looks like is huddled up with a bunch of different people, probably all taking shelter because they were all told that something was in the upper atmosphere. But they've got a lock, so it's a difficulty 3 check here. And if somebody wants to roll for Pride, Pride, I believe, will be rolling comms plus engineering.
Control engineering assisted by Pride Sensor Science.
Thank you. Okay,
so I guess that's
so it's a
Pavin, probably. Or whoever is in transporter's room, technically. But it could be Pavin since he's activated and it's an engineering check.
Well, Pavin can't do it because he's in main engineering. But he could, essentially it's going to be...
Okay, then it's the transporter chief, I think. Or we have him, we take a difficulty 3 check and we have Pavin do it. Up to captain.
What I was going to say is you could have Pavin do it, but it's at an increased difficulty of 1 because he's not at the station.
That's why it would be a DC 3.
Right, okay. So if you want to go to off DC 3, then Pavin could beam from where Pavin is at.
Versus having whoever replaced Zoe. Who replaced Zoe?
No one's. It's member of Oxcrow. But I will say this: we can also say this because keeping in mind too that during combat, moving from one part of the ship to the next part of the ship is literally an action you can take. So we can say that as soon as Pavin is done making those adjustments, word gets back down to main engineering that Pavin needs to get to transporter room 1 as quickly as possible. And Pavin just goes, oh, okay. And immediately runs to the turbo lift. And we could say that Pavin, because multiple actions have been taken. So if you want, tell you what, if you are willing to spend 1 point of momentum, I'll say Pavin can get to the transporter room without an increased difficulty and will be on station.
Would this not be something that he gets a benefit from the insightful fighting as it's all about being
good point. Good point. Yeah, good point. Okay. Yes, I'll let that. Yeah, it's a very good point. I'll let that ride. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. Make that check.
All right. That's Pavin's stat block then, difficulty 2. And a roll Pride with, the sad sensor sign roll.
Pride?
Okay.
Do we have somebody rolling Pride? Or
I don't trust my luck with Pride.
I think that's you, Captain. We need someone on Pride to roll Pride and to be
right. Funny. Well, hell. All right, here we go. Let's get into it.
4. He doesn't have a focus, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. That's a 12. What do I have to roll under? It's probably no. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
What was the difficulty?
2.
I rolled a 9 and a 6.
Hey!
So Pavin is going to succeed. Pavin is in main transporter room with an ensign who's watching him nervously as he starts to reroute power, and he looks at the ensign and just says, "You try to do this when the captain orders it when you don't even have reserve power." He just turns around and starts redirecting some of the plasma systems all the way into the transporter room, and he goes, "I have to do repairs on this thing after this." Oh boy. All right, Tech, don't get mad at me if I beam your arm into space. Energizing. Wherever Tech is right now, in the mid-sentence, all of a sudden a blue curtain of energy. You see Moranth, their griffin lights up as you see the relay activate. And you hear the lieutenant say, "Transporter activated. Boosting power."
Let me know when we got him.
You hear Pavin say, "Initiating relay. Signal acquired. It's not very strong. Stand by." And then slides his hand up the control pad. This blue curtain of energy appears. It flickers at first. Boosting power. Come on, you son of a bitch. Give it to, come on, Pride. You see the energy curtain begin to coalesce. And then suddenly Pavin starts to appear on the transporter pad. Or not Pavin, but you see Tech appear on the transporter pad. And moments later, and that's why you need holy cow.
As soon as we have them on board, Jared's just going to say, "Tag, you're it. Helmsman, swing. Take me to church." And I'm setting the location to the Celestial Temple.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to beeline for the wormhole?
Yep.
Okay. So with that, the Pride just continues a hard turn to port. You watch as the The planet tilts in the view screen as you start turning hard to port using impulse and thrusters. The Kedicus still does not react. And indeed, it looks like the transports are still on their way planet side.
Okay.
As the Pride comes about, you're in system.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing full impulse, or what's the plan? Full impulse will take you hours to get to the wormhole, but
I've got free reign on this thing. My home world is in danger. Get me to DS9 now.
okay.
Maximum
so-
warp.
Maximum. Okay, so warp 9 in system between where you are right now and DS9. That will put you at your location possibly a fraction of a second after you jump. Because at warp 1, you will arrive at DS9 in about 5 minutes. So at warp 9, you're arriving at 0.00008 seconds.
Whatever warp it will take me to get there in a minute. Like it's like my home world is being invaded.
Right.
I don't care about the yellow lights.
Okay, so I would say warp 2 then, but it is an in-system warp, which does happen sometimes. So Caitlin, I'm gonna need our Helms officer to make a roll here. So this is going to be a control con roll.
And my difficulty?
Difficulty is 4.
Woo! All right.
And the Pride gets to roll 2. Now the Pride, obviously, where she does not shine in comms, computers, or science, she does shine in engines and engineering, which is what she's going to be rolling here.
All right. I would like to take our last momentum to gain a bonus die, so I have cautious. And I would like to activate, actually, my new acclaim spend, which is the Starcross medal, which allows me to double my crit range.
Okay.
I have to announce it before I make the roll.
Wow.
And
so
I would like
doubles
to
your crit
double
range.
one
So
permission.
your helm, what's your helm score?
5.
5. So if you roll a 10 or a lower, you crit.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. The difficulty is 4.
Right.
I think this is fair too, considering this incredibly awesome but high risk maneuver you're about to pull. I am going to jump the complication range by 4.
That's fine.
So if you roll a 16 or higher, it's going to be a complication.
Oh, this window for nothing to happen is kind of is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, because you are jumping into a high trafficked area in system at warp 2. So
You have cautious.
it's
I
gonna
do
be a
have
hell of a
cautious.
maneuver.
My complication range is inside my success range.
Because
That means
we're
you can
on-
succeed and still get a complication.
That's crazy.
Because we're on the ship together, I do believe I qualify for taking the stress for my helmsman.
What's that?
Hey, helmsman, just succeed on the roll. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal here.
Yeah, each time we face a negative consequence, I can choose to suffer stress instead. So
I love that. Captains are so much fun to.
Crazy.
Is
They're
that
just-
called know whose consequences for my actions? Thank you very much.
That's we can do we don't need to be nervous. We need to be effective. You got this.
Okay, make your roll.
Someone wants to roll pride for me.
I think this bridge has the fewest nervous people, like with all the Vulcan and Vulcan raised folks. Nerves only when we're pinching them.
Okay, what'd you get?
That is
Roll for pride.
5 successes from me.
5 successes. Okay, not surprised.
That's my sister.
No complications.
No
I did roll another
complications.
11 though, which is now starting to scare me.
Hey, for pride, I rolled a 2. I don't have bad luck for
So then
pride.
pride will crit then.
Let's go.
Because that's engineering is where pride shines. Okay, so that's a total
7.
of 7 successes. So
We get
bank
3 back.
everything over 4. So with
Oh,
that,
3 momentum.
in a really impressive maneuver, and Cadence, you get a front row seat to this hard bank to port, and then suddenly you see the nacelles of the USS Pride light up. It takes a moment to realize what she's doing, and then she jumps to warp.
See, that's how they fly a big bird, huh?
How much
45
did that gain
seconds
us?
to the Celestial Temple at Warp 2.
How much momentum did that net us?
3.
Give us 3.
And is that 3 total for where we're at right now?
I spent the
Yeah.
last one
Yes.
to get my cautious
Yeah.
reroll.
Gotcha. All right. So once we get to the Celestial Temple, that's where we're going to put a hail to DS9.
Oh, just so you know, as soon as you jump to Warp, you clear the scattering, you clear the localized communication cutoff. So as soon as you start leaving the vicinity of Bejor, you start getting scattered communications, and a few moments later, it clears up.
Okay. Then as soon as we're able, I would like to reach out to the Bajoran ambassador on Deep Space Nine.
DS9? Okay. The other thing, too, is as y'all are in Warp, Ensign Zoe says, Captain, I'm getting a response, sir, from our call to help. It looks... She listens closely to the comms for a moment. She says, the USS Appalachia is responding, sir. She's a Steamrunner class escort ship.
Sounds good to me. We just need to put Chief Tech somewhere the Thorians can't get him.
We're seconds out from the Celestial Temple now.
All right. Yeah, that's what I'm putting in the goal to the Bajoran ambassador.
Okay. So the office of the Bajoran ambassador is hailed as y'all are at Warp. Meanwhile, back on Bejor.
All right, Griffins, congratulations. We have been promoted to system defense. You might notice we are all alone, and Grandpa Big Bird has asked us to leave the nest and fly on her own. Good news, baby birds, I think we can do it.
Griffin 4, Rulon, basically the trill. You hear Rulon say, yeah, I noticed it got a little lonelier out here all of a sudden.
Just time for us to find our spotlight. What, you don't think we can take 4 transports going into orbit, 12 Widow fighters, and the biggest spider I've ever seen?
Rulon, you hear the mumbling. I really don't like spiders.
Well, then we better not let Bejor have to deal with it. Ever get into position, anyone tries something funky, well, we do what we have to do by duty. Anyone gets webbed up, though.
Moranth says the signal back to you, Commander. You hear Moranth say, Commander.
Moranth, what you got?
I've just witnessed the Tholian transports. They've touched down in the city. I don't have eyes on Devar, but I do have his signal. I know that he is currently circling what it looks like. It's hard to read that thing. I'm keeping eyes on what looks like Bajoran security forces are coming to meet the transports.
All right. Good, and they're aware at least.
They're coming in force, Commander.
I would be too.
And then you hear Moranth say, holy shit. Can you, Commander, are you seeing this? And you see coming up on your view screen a kind of staticky interference image of what Moranth is singing. You see the 4 transports have touched down roughly in the same area where y'all's shuttle had touched down, which is, by the way, still planet side at the moment. But as it's resting there, you see these large, geometrically shaped, like diamond-esque transports that have touched down. And the Tholians that are emerging from it are in these giant mechanized suits that tower over a lot of the Bajorans. A few of them are armed, but they don't come out guns blazing. You see, indeed, each transport does have what would appear to be at least one central figure that is a large mechanized unit. But it only looks like in the one that was scanned that has 8, it looks like only 2 are coming out of the other ones each. So a total of 12 Tholians begin to emerge. But there is one that is clearly in command, that has taken point. and you see this intimidating looking insectoid-like mech like creature moving up on the Tholian, on the Bajorans, who are in a formation. None of them are pointing weapons right now. And you're watching as it looks like a lone Bajoran woman steps forward in security and begins to engage in conversation. And they're just kind of standing side by side. You hear Morant say, "Man, I wish I could hear what they were saying."
Yeah, eavesdropping is rude. Get into position to provide air support as needed. If it starts getting a little spicy down there, those transports don't go back up.
Copy that.
We'll be up here keeping an eye on... yeah.
Okay. So
And
with
they
that,
just look out their view screen at this freaking half their dang view screen ass tarantula dreadnought.
yeah, it's blocking out a good portion of the star of Bajor. As a quick reminder to anybody who is watching, the tarantula class dreadnought is roughly 2 kilometers long.
2.7, as I recall.
Yeah, it's easily the size, if not a little bit large. I would say it's basically an enormous ship.
Yeah, it's not so far off from the diameter of a Borg cube, which, as I recall, is 3.5. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we can take him. I'm just saying if anything happens to the captain's planet on our watch, we're answering for it, and I don't wanna.
Excellent. Good point. And to put this into perspective again for you, if anybody is questioning, the Catechus is roughly twice the size of a Star Destroyer, to give you some kind of scale.
Look, there's more than one way for me not to have to answer it.
Yeah. So you're just sitting there floating underneath this thing as it is kind of casting the shadow down on the planet. And again, curiously enough, the Widows, nobody's making any moves right now. No weapons have come online. Back on the Pride, you see Zoe just go, "Captain, I'm getting a reply from the ambassador's office. Apparently the ambassador is in a dinner right now and I have been directed to leave a message."
Oh, I love bureaucracy. See if you can get me someone in Starfleet on DS9.
Aye, Captain.
We need to let them know we're dropping off a individual of interest, and then we need to go back down there and get in the fight.
I have Commander Nerys, sir.
Okay. On screen.
At the same time you're on screen is when the Pride would leave warp. As you leave warp, you see yourself in this great big spatial field where off in the distance, thousands of kilometers away, is DS9. Out here is nothing, but the distance between you and the Celestial Temple, which is currently hidden right now, is close enough that you could enter if you needed to. But you're basically at coordinates. Coming up on screen, you see, wearing her commander uniform and everything, 3 pips, you see Commander Kira Nerys. And she says, "This is DS9. We read you, USS Pride. Did we read correctly that there's a Tholian dreadnought over Bajor?"
Yes, and I believe I have the person that they're interested in, Chief Engineer Tech. I would like to have him stowed away on Deep Space Nine, and then I need to return to Bajor immediately. I've got personnel there, and it's home.
I've already alerted some of our allies, Captain. If you can give me about 20 minutes, I can have a Klingon bird of prey escort follow you back to Bajor.
They have troops on the ground, 4 transport vessels with, I believe it was 4 armed Tholians each.
You see her face. She looks shocked. That would be the most aggressive move the Tholians have made in the past 60 years.
And I think Bajor has seen enough aggression.
She nods and says, "Beam whoever it is you need on board DS9. They'll have safe haven here."
All right. I'm going to direct us to just impulse. It's only a couple thousand miles, so just impulse there, transport.
You literally beam from where you are.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to beam Tech, and just let Nerys know I'm getting back into the fight. I wouldn't mind knowing that I have a couple of birds of prey on the way.
She nods and says, "You're not alone in the fight. I've alerted the Klingons. Whatever happens, they're going to be on station soon."
May the Prophet watch over us both.
She nods and says, "Good luck, and Captain, I hope you can end this peacefully."
I always intend to.
Okay, transmission cuts out, and you see Arvali go, "Confirms, Captain. I've got 2 Cavort class Klingon bird of prey that are now crossing into Bajoran space. They should be here in about 10 minutes.
She does not mess around and lives up to the reputation. Helmsman, bring us back to the ring.
Aye, sir.
All right. Back on Bajor. By the way, I just want to say, back down in the transporter room, Pavin is gently pushing Tech back up onto the transporter. I need somebody to tell me what's going on. Like, if you don't like me making you dance, you can just say so without kicking me off of Bajor and then the ship. And Pavin goes, "Sir, I'm sorry. I don't have enough time for this. Don't make me pull rank. Just get on the pad. We're beaming you to DS9. Okay, but why? Because there's a Tholian dreadnought, the Catechus. The Catechus is here? Yes. And we're putting you on DS9 so that they can't find you. So far as we know, they still don't know where you are. So just go enjoy a root beer at Quark's and stand by. I have violated the laws of physics too many times for one day." "What do you mean you violated?" And starts beaming him off the pad. Cut 2. You're still getting the feed from Moranth. And all of a sudden, the shadow above you begins to shift as the Catechus begins to turn to starboard for some reason. The formation of the Widow stay exactly the same, but the Catechus begins to sort of point in the direction of the planet for a moment. But then she continues to come about, almost like she's coming completely about. As this is happening, you can hear one of the members of Griffin Wing, Rulon, just go, "I don't know if they've got a plan or if they're deliberately just trying to show us their ass."
Hey, maybe they think we'd enjoy the view.
This thing comes about. What you see, which is really fascinating, is the engine, the great impulse engines behind this thing also have this slow, graceful spin to them. The whole thing is really, it's a beautiful ship, if not a little haunting and somewhat predatorial looking, but Mulan continues to just muse. I wonder if they built this in response to the Dominion War. I mean, Tarantula class dreadnoughts, they just didn't show up until, what, like 10 years ago?
Who knows how long something like that is in development, right? Think about how long it took to get these rebuilds together, and Starfleet just had to make a few changes to an underlying space frame.
Right.
Those things don't show up overnight. What's their vector? Assuming, the impulse engine, where would they be?
Yeah, it looks like they're just coming about and reversing their orbit. Like they're changing direction. But
not toward the planet, not toward DS9.
No, it looks like they've just come about, like they're maneuvering into an opposite orbit of where they were originally facing. It looks like they've come completely about, and you're starting to see reaction from the Widow fighters begin to form up next to it now too. They start to break away. They're not facing you either. In an unusual move, the wings of Widow fighters begin to sort of form into a formation around the Catechus.
Look, I know. I'm also thinking about the budget expansion for more fighters right now.
Yeah, tell me about it. Moranth signals back to you and says, "Commander, I'm seeing some activity now. I'm sending it back to the feed." And you see the Bajorans have opened up a line, and the lead Tholian with an escort of 2 begin to advance towards the scientific convention in the building. And then a couple of Bajorans fall in behind it. I don't know what to make of what I'm seeing right now.
All right. Give a quick duck into the clouds, get some communication with the Bajorans on the ground, find out what's going on, tell Devor about air support plans and then pop back out and give me an update. Sound good?
Copy that, Commander.
All right, go, go, go.
That peregrine just banks hard into the clouds and dips low. It's only a few minutes. It's only a few moments before you hear the communications to the Bajorn side militia and security forces. As the communications are going back and forth, the messages that you're seeing come back up. Hearing one of your wingmates talking to the forces. First of all, the Bajorn security force is deeply grateful that you are all up there right now, and acknowledging the presence of Griffin Wing. They also acknowledge that the Tholians have seen you, so they know y'all are up there too. They don't know if that's the Bajorn on the ground says, I don't know if that's making a difference, but they didn't come out guns blazing, so that's a good thing. I'm going to patch you through, Commander, so you can speak directly to the security head that's on the ground right now.
Thank you, Moranth.
All right, you're patched through.
All right, Bajor, this is Griffin 1, call sign Cadence. We are here to provide air support, emotional support, any kind of support you need. We're following your lead. So tell us what you're doing and tell us how we can help.
This is Security Operator Amendi. We're grateful to see you. We're trying to make sense of what's happening. We're only able to understand partial translations, but the Tholian leader identified themselves as the captain of the ship that has just entered system, calls himself Vosrax, I believe, and is demanding to see a Federation officer by the name of Chief Teclinatus.
Yeah, they are after an objective that is no longer on that planet. No telling how they are going to react when they get that information. Be advised, target was, I repeat, was, in that convention they are presently heading toward. No telling how they react to finding their designs frustrated, and there are a lot of civilians in there, Amendi.
There's a brief pause in the comms and say, well, that's interesting. Unless I misunderstood, Commander, the reason why they wish to speak or to locate Teclinatus, at least according to the translator that we got when we confronted the captain as he arrived, was that his life was in danger.
Vosrax?
I believe he made it sound like it was the chief's life was in danger, and that they were here to acquire him.
All right.
Sounds like there might be some kind of miscommunication.
Well, more like the absence of communication. Some days you say, hey, how can we help? And they say nothing and send ships to the local planet. My captain is outside of the comms blockade, no telling when he'll be back. I'm happy to liaise with Vosrax in the interim, but really I have a limited scope of diplomatic know-how or authority.
Understood, Commander. There's a good chance the Tholians might react negatively if they find out their target isn't here. We weren't ready to hand over Chief Tech either, but we seem to have made an arrangement where the captain and 2 escorts are allowed into the convention while the rest of his landing party is to stay behind. However, Tholians don't exactly have a history of being friendly, so we're not entirely sure what to expect here. If a representative of the Federation was down here talking to them directly, I would feel better.
All right. Copy that. Rulon, I'm going to dive into the clouds, may have some comms blackout like we've been getting. If anything interesting shows up, send someone back down. I'm sending at least one of the previous team back on up to try to maintain numbers up there. Anything funny? Take care of it.
Copy that, Commander. Not a problem. By the way, if we know our captain, he'll be back at any moment now.
He'll be back when he's back because he trusts us to get it done. And with that, they're going to break off and do like a backwards dive
Okay.
onto the.
You starbuck your way,
planet.
sort of like backflip, and then head straight into the planet side. Almost as if to give you encouragement, to remind you that you're not alone in this. As you are exiting the clouds, you catch a brief glimpse of a peregrine fighter that has a shade of black added to its outer hull. This sort of exterior that looks like it is meant to blend in a little bit more with the night sky. Be a little more difficult to detect. Between the clouds, when you catch it, it almost looks like a shadow, but you easily recognize one of the members of your wing, Devar, in the stealth peregrine, who is following you. And as you break from the clouds, he stays, sort of breaks away. But indeed, as you start nearing the landing port, you see the Tholians all out. This might be the first time you've seen Tholians face to face outside of their ship. These mechanized suits are something new that Starfleet has had very minimal contact with, but they're quite intimidating. They just look like diamond shards of these sort of EV suits for the Tholians. And these giant mechanized, terrifying, spiky looking like legs that encompass their bodies. It makes them just look like giant metal arachnids with these amber shards of energy in the center of this diamond-like formation. They all turn as the peregrine begins to sink down. And as you start flipping off the switches, and you can see them kind of all notice you as you settle down.
All right. I'll just before I pop out, I'm going to set comms to all non-restricted frequencies.
Okay.
Captain Bosrax of the Catechus, this is Commander Cadence of Griffin 1 and the USS Pride. I'm going to merge from the ship. It sounds like we have something to discuss about your target. Be advised, there is nothing for you of interest. That is a conference full of civilians doing some nerd stuff. I'm going to emerge from my ship if that's agreeable or not actively disagreeable to you. If it is disagreeable to you, please use your words and don't shoot me.
Make a presence command check. And I'll set the difficulty of this at 3.
Oh, no. No.
We've got some momentum.
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay.
That'd be ideal. Leadership in here? I am taking point on...
Not really. No, it's more of a negotiation.
Okay.
It'd be something along those lines. Yeah.
That's fine. I didn't end up under the...
Ooh, I got that one.
So let's see. That's +8. Dang, that's one short. So that, yeah, no, that's only 2.
2 successes?
Yeah.
Okay. So the result of that failed roll is not all of the message is fully understood. However, as you emerge from your landed peregrine and you step out, no, hold on. 1 second. There is one thing. Do me a favor, Sam, if you would please, and roll me a d20.
All right. That's a 10.
That's going to be an additional success.
Oh, heck.
So as you're saying all of this, you start noticing your comms. There's a little bit of a high-pitched like frequency change from your own comms as you're saying all of this, and it's not necessarily uncomfortable, but you can hear that like your universal translator is pulling double duty, and that's when you realize from this ambient kind of sort of like ambient hovering noise as you watch Peaches come hovering up right next to you and says, "I've corrected your mistranslations, Commander."
Ah. No one has quite your people skills, Peaches.
I hope you do not mind that I detached from the belly of the peregrine, but I thought my help might be useful.
It's much appreciated. Do remember, as I'm just popping my jacket back on, that we have no particular expectations of how they react, so hopefully they like you. I certainly
I
do.
hope so too.
But if they don't, you get yourself to safety, okay?
We shall both run, as they say.
That's right. And I'm gonna just boop Peaches as I pass down the ramp of the peregrine
Commander,
and go out.
as the two of you begin to approach a line of Tholians, you see the captain has done an about face, and left a rather stunned and confused looking security escort watching them as they walk back towards you.
I just wave to the escort behind him.
Yeah, it is noticeably different in size. The captain looks like there's been a few additions to their armor. It looks like this captain is not only larger than the other Tholians, but looks like their EV armored suit is a miniature mech. It looks like it's designed for heavy combat of some kind. But there's no obvious weapon ports. It just looks menacing. That may or may not be an artifact of the Tholian trying to intimidate you. It might just be because that's what's inside this suit. But as it moves up on you, Peaches says, Commander, I would like to remind you that I can travel at extraordinary speeds. Should it require, if you need to grab hold of me, I can fly us out of here.
Sounds like a new way to fly. I'd never say no to that.
Advise, I do not have handles.
Huh. Then I guess it's a hug, isn't it? My goodness, anyone ever talk to you about playing basketball?
The Tholian captain looks down at you, and that is where we are going to pause for our 10-minute break. As Sam once again is the point person communicating.
Only till my captain gets here.
Only until your captain gets here. But
Only
once
till my
again,
captain gets here.
in another life, another character, once again, you were standing face to face with the Tholian captain of the Catechus. We will be back in 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right. Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clear Skies, The Last Excelsior, the very first episode of our brand new Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition campaign with the StreamPunks. Thank you so much for being patient with us. You'll notice that we have a significant absence of Bonnie, but Bonnie is here, in fact. We do have a Bonnie, but after struggling to get Bonnie's webcam to acknowledge Bonnie's existence, we've decided we're just going to bear it. We have Bonnie's voice. It just seems like, Bonnie, your curse in Star Trek is just to be a voice that we all hear. Apparently. If it's not a whale, it's a computer. If it's not a computer, then you're just this amorphous Andorian in the background. So we'll just have to, yeah. Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior, our new Clear Skies campaign here with the StreamPunks. It's so great being back to playing Star Trek again. I'm pretty sure hailing frequencies are open.
Again!
I'm relatively confident that hailing frequencies are now open. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us as we fought through some subspace interference. Hailing frequencies are finally open. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Last Excelsior, our Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition campaign that we're playing here with the StreamPunks. We're getting started a little late tonight. Thank you so much for our patience. Well, hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior, the StreamPunks Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition campaign that we've just kicked off. Good evening, and hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior. Hailing frequencies are open. Welcome to the Last Excelsior, our Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition live play here with the StreamPunks. Hailing frequencies are finally open. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Last Excelsior. We're getting a very late start today, and that is all on me because I was moving my entire streaming rig. And then, of course, we had tech issues, and I did not want to cancel tonight. So we are very sorry to be starting an hour after we normally start. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. Good evening.
1.
Welcome back, everybody. We're back from our break. We are currently planetside with Cadence as a large Tholian captain has just squared up to Cadence. They are flanked by 2 other Tholians that are in slightly smaller EV-styled gear. They do apparently seem to have what look like weapons. If you want to make a roll, Cadence, to try to identify what it is that they have on them, and if you can see if it's a thing that you should be worried about, I would say you can make an insight command check or insight, anything you want to use as a skill here. I mean, Caitlin, if you don't want to play, you could have just pinged us tonight and said, I don't like you anymore.
Oh, I
Like,
didn't realize
Officer
that was
down!
an
Officer down!
you know, literally, Devine just stands up from the helm and says, you know what? I'm not being paid for this, and just walks out.
Being here is illogical. Airlock.
The end.
Nobody's being paid. We're gonna be slamming the basement.
Yeah. So if you want to, I would say definitely make an insight check. And whatever department you want to use that will be what colors what it is that you learn about.
My command and security are the same, so
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
What the?
The difficulty is just 2.
Huh?
Did you just roll 2 ones? What happened?
No, just rolling under an 12. Sorry, was the goal.
Mhm.
So it is weird to do that twice.
It is unusual for you in this campaign.
I didn't, and okay.
Cadence,
So I succeed.
as Sam starts distrusting the universe.
Yeah.
Waiting for that.
Yeah, dice, please. Like, could we have just failed this one so that we don't use up all the dice luck?
Right. So 2 successes then?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cadence, it looks like they do have what appear to be rifles of some kind that look like they're built into their suits, made to look like it is part of the superstructure of the mechanized suit itself, easily detachable and retrievable. They're currently not in a position. They're not in like a ready position. They're not like carrying them with barrels down and fingers off the trigger. They're just sheathed basically. But they look like they're quick to access if they need to. However, again, following the same trait as the Catechus, you make note of the fact that no one seems to be in a threatening position right now. The captain stands before you and towers over you. I guess right now, compared to Cadence, the captain of the Catechus looks like they probably tip around 8 feet as they're kind of slunked down into a relaxed stance. And they begin to speak to you. You hear from inside the EV suit that incredibly difficult to understand and high-pitched screeching sounds that the universal translator scrambling. But with Peach's help, you're getting a basic understanding of what the captain is saying to you. And again, you hear this almost mechanized voice come over the comms as the universal translator is doing its due diligence. And what the captain essentially says to you, here for the key, require the Bolian.
I understand that. Fortunately, the key isn't here. My understanding is you are looking for the key in order to preserve him. Is that correct?
There's a pivot where the captain almost looks like he's deferring to one of his officers as he switches over and screeches again this language at the officer. The officer replies to him. Universal translators having difficulty picking up what they're saying, but you hear Peaches in a low volume murmur to you, I'm picking up a few words, Commander. I hear anomaly and risk. The captain turns back and says, you are USS Pride.
I am the first officer of that ship. Yes. The Pride is not available right now, but if you would like to leave a message.
Again, the captain pivots and begins to confer with the other officer. He just leans forward and says, Commander, I believe that might be the captain's science officer. They're having a discussion about anti-chronotons, and I've heard the name USS Pride. The captain turns back to you and says, has Pride conducted experiment?
With the quirky temporal particles? Not extensively.
It stares
Enough
at you.
to know their danger, their risk.
It's uncomfortable how long he stares without responding.
I
But it does-
remember when I was in Starfleet Academy, there was one officer who liked to discipline calling
Mhm.
into the office and have you sit down for like 10 minutes and just look at you and think that like they're really getting under your skin. So this is nothing.
You, without even having to make a roll, you're not getting a vibe that you're being stared down or that even the Tholian's disappointed. He may be trying to process what you've told him, or he might just be in a state of considering his options. But you are looking at, from underneath this cloud of gaseous material that's inside this EV suit, you can see the amber-colored glowing eyes staring out at you from the crystalline form of the Tholian within. And it seems penetrating, but not judgmental or malicious in any way. He just stares in a way that a crystalline creature could.
It's a little bit of a rocky relationship.
Finally, confers again with his officer. The officer maneuvers a little bit this time to step in front and start talking directly to his captain. And Pete just says, I'm having difficulty understanding them this time. They're both talking rather quickly, Commander. I've picked up the only single word I've managed to decipher is existence.
Oh, didn't realize it was quite that high stakes. Record what you can and try to spend a little more time and a little compute while we're talking on continuing to translate what you managed to acquire here.
Yes, Commander. This is indeed a fascinating encounter. There have only been 3 documented cases where the Federation crew has had direct contact with Tholians this way.
Well, then you have 3 examples for the report we're writing up together, right, Cadet?
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the first time a Tholian has ever visited a Federation planet.
Wow.
There is, however, there is one Tholian, however, that I have limited files on.
Yeah?
Yes. Apparently there is a Tholian named Bright Eyes that the Federation has come in contact with. It was rescued by the crew of the USS Enterprise.
Do you see direct pertinence to this scenario?
No, but if Bright Eyes is accessible, it could be an enormous benefit to us to be able to bridge the gap between the 2 species. Assuming, of course, Bright Eyes is not some kind of criminal.
Last known location of Bright Eyes, Peaches?
I'm not entirely sure, Commander. I'm sorry. I would have to access the USS Pride's computer database.
We're on planet, Peaches. There are facilities.
I could ask the Bajorans if I could access their database, but it would need to be a Federation database. Perhaps the embassy.
All right. Use my command authorization if you need it. Find out what you can find out.
The captain suddenly swivels back on you. Name.
Cadence.
Swivels back to the officer, and they go back to talking again.
You know, we can't all be significant to the timeline, I guess.
I think it might be going well, though, Commander. We are, of course, still alive.
the standard I'm holding. I enjoy being unvaporized. A quirk
Commander,
of mine.
you hear it coming through your comms at that point. As soon as you say, you hear Devore coming through your comms and say, the Tellarite just says, Commander, I've got the USS Pride currently on long-range sensors. She's coming in hot. Looks like the captain has definitely turned around. ETA in about 30 seconds.
All right. Send them sit rep as soon as they've broken through the comms blockade.
Copy that.
Thank you.
Should I give them an update of your situation? Is everything all right down there? I haven't detected any weapons fire.
We're going to give them a hard, so far, so good. They're having a science conference right in front of me.
Well, just to keep you apprised, the entire Bajoran government is now completely aware of what's happening here. So you're not alone. You've got an entire planet's worth of very angry Bajorans that don't like giant dreadnoughts dropping out of warp in their upper orbit and threatening their Federation allies.
Well, I'm less worried about having backup than providing it, but if I'm going to have anyone on my side, whew, wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of a Bajoran. Let alone a whole planet.
Captain comes back, this time not quite as abrupt, and faces you and says, encountered Romulan.
Name?
Unknown. Name?
Circumstance?
Threat.
Response?
Destruction.
Location?
Unknown. Encounter?
Yes. Threat.
Present. Bajor. Operative. Chief Tech. Target.
Planet side?
Believed.
Coordination?
Unknown. Unable to track.
Partnership?
Dead silence.
Efficient?
This time it feels like a pause before the captain says, complicated.
Limited?
Limited.
Agreeable. Captain's return imminent. Coordinate.
Almost on that beautiful cue. Helm, you see the planet Bajor coming up on sensors. As you exit warp, you're about 45 seconds away from orbit, and you can see on sensors that, yes, Jody, massive ships still in orbit over Bajor. All of its widows are still detached. However, you don't see all of Griffin Wing above planet. You only see one. However, the one looks like it's on station keeping, which is a sign that nothing is wrong. No one's maneuvering, there's no dogfights, and you're detecting a Federation, you're detecting one of the officers' life forms inside. Specifically, you're detecting Marcel, who is just currently at station keeping above the planet. You can get a little bit of static comms coming through as you all exit warp and see her on sensors. And Ensign Zoe just says, Lieutenant Commander, I'm sorry, I'm barely reading you. We still have comm interference from the Catechus. I can't get a hold of them, Captain, but it would seem that Lieutenant Marceau is fine. Life support and bio readings are all reading as normal, slightly elevated pulse, but aside from that, it seems like everything's okay.
Okay, well, it seems that no aggression has occurred just yet. Can we get under the curtain?
Zoe looks over at you, specifically Tavine, and says, communications-wise, sir? Is that what you mean?
Communication and transport. Correct.
Oh, sorry, sir. Communications might be. I'll try, sir.
How close do you need us, Ensign?
Zoe shakes her head and says, honestly, I don't know the full nature of the scattering field that they're using. If I could figure out what it is specifically, and she glances over at Navrali and says, on it. Navrali just pivots back into their chair and starts working their magic on their Elcars. It looks like it's a standard scattering field of ionic particles. Oh, interesting. I'm detecting tetryon energy fields within the catechus. Looks like those are the kinds of... Oh. Those are its weapon systems. There are a lot. That's a lot of weapon systems. I'm detecting phaser banks, tetryon banks, tetryon arrays, and presence of chronotonic energy within the catechus. But I am getting distracted. Let me see if I can get underneath that field for you.
How much momentum do we have, gang?
I have us at 2.
Down to 1 because new scene.
New scene, yeah.
Yeah. And not lower than 1 because you have Tan.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as Zoe is going to work to try to get comms up, your chief security officer turns from her station just behind tactical, and Zarya says, Captain, we could take a shuttle down.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan. Good call. Teod,
Captain,
want to take a road trip?
sounds good.
Tavine, would you like to join us?
I may be more useful aboard the ship I actually pilot, sir, but I will join you if you'd like.
Keep an eye on us. We should have friends coming fairly soon. Let us know when they get en route.
Would you like me to pull up closer to the Griffin Wing, sir, and see if the proximity assists with the ensign's communications work?
Sounds like a good plan. They were able to enhance our transport signal. No, they may be able to do the same with our communications.
Hi, sir.
It is worth noting that once those officers leave the bridge, you become the senior officer on the bridge, helmswoman. So
Wild.
you are to take center chair as soon as Jaren steps away from the bridge.
Oh, God.
Because both first officer and captain are away, and you are senior officer. So Oxcrew is going to fill in for you in the helm.
Oh, I've walked myself into a command corner is what I've done here. It's fun. Let's do. Tavine is deeply uncomfortable with this. Caitlin thinks it's hysterical. Let's do it.
I think just before hitting the turbo lift, Jared's gonna look back at you and say, despite whatever you might think, it's not too big for you. Then he's just gonna go.
All right.
Captain, do you think it'd be wise for us to maybe bring a security team down with us?
Yeah, you. But if you think it's wise that we have more,
Zarya is going with you as well.
perfect. And so it's your call. Tactical. What do you think we need?
Captain, Zarya
Yes.
pipes up. I'm sorry, sir. I don't mean to be impertinent, but as chief of security, it's my call, sir.
Well, I'll let you both work that out between the two of you.
She looks directly at you, cold Andorian stare, and says, I'm sending a security team with us to protect our captain.
Sounds good.
Oh my God,
There's a small smirk to her face as she nods to you and then goes back facing forward. She taps on the comms and just say, "Security team, report to transporter room 1."
I'm just gonna lean over to Taya. Like, oh, I got in trouble.
I think all you get from Tayon is the eyebrow raise.
Yeah.
The Vulcan eyebrow raise. Okay.
Full of Vulcans and Vulcan raised. So many eyebrows.
When you reach the transporter room, you see Pavin look at you all step and says, "I guess I'm beaming you all through this interference shield again."
Oh, that we're gonna take a shuttle, make your life a little easier. I think you're getting your cardio in for sure, though.
Oh, excellent, sir. Great. Am I coming with you?
I think the ship is gonna be safer with you aboard.
Copy that. The security team shows up, and Zarya just says, "Follow us to the main shuttle bay." And the security team just falls in line. They go into the lockers near the main near the security area of the main transporter room and take out phasers. One of them reaches for a phaser rifle, and Zarya says, "Nope, leave that one." Puts it back, closes the locker.
One day we'll find you an excuse, but not today. Are any of you good with xenobiology or extraterrestrial languages?
Hold on. Bonnie made this character, so I've got to go look to see if maybe... This is Bonnie's character. So, martial arts, starship, weapon systems, ship engagement tactics, security systems. Value is preparedness is the key. So she's got a
no,
value.
tech is the key.
Yeah.
So funny because I find it really funny. One of my values is improvise. Going by the book really works. Which
Oh no, you too. Oh man, you too.
Could I suggest that maybe Dr. Conway is on the away team?
Yeah, if you want to send Dr. Conway.
For a proposal for the captain, but
I mean, a chief medical officer should always be on an away team unless you are beaming into a hostile territory and the captain doesn't deem it necessary. But
I dig it. Let's do it.
okay. Dr. Conway also reports to the main shuttle bay. Dr. Conway looks very excited, by the way, when she shows up. If you can, picture Dr. Conway just eyes bright as she shows up with her medical satchel over her shoulder, her tricorder, and an extra tricorder that she's just put inside of her medical kit and going, "I hear we're meeting Tholians." Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating people. I cannot wait. I've always wanted to get a close range scan of Tholians if they'll let me. Their biology is incredible.
We'll make sure that we get their permission first. Remember, everybody, this is a diplomatic mission. The phasers are for show, and I'd consider it a personal favor if I didn't, get into a fist fight my first visit to Bayshore. So,
keep it simple, Captain.
Especially you, Double Tap. Let's move.
You've been calling me that.
Okay. All right, you guys get into the shuttlecraft. Zarya, does she have con? Yes, she does.
I mean, the captain went to flight school too.
We don't need to talk about it. We don't.
You can be your co-pilot.
Yeah, I. You know what? I feel safe being a co-pilot.
Right alongside Tavine and Cadence, the captain went to flight school.
This is true.
We don't need to talk about what happened at the academy in general.
No, that's true. Good point.
Those are wild and reckless days.
Well, I think we should talk about that. I feel like that'd be a really fun discussion to have.
Oh man, to me, you got so much flying to do.
Well, the thing is that I've now taken center chair, so I've got a lot less flying to do and a little bit more being nosy.
That is the talkie chair. Yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah.
As you were all powering up in the shuttle, Zarya just says, "From what I understand of Tholians, they don't actually behave to intimidation tactics from biological beings like us. Curiously enough, there is sort of an animal body language that a lot of species tend to understand. It's pretty universal, but Tholians, they don't respond to intimidation, I've noticed. So I don't think they'll care about our phasers too much, which is good, but if anybody reaches for them," and she glances at her security team, She's like, trust me, you don't want to be one of the few in the list that makes it who done got killed by a Tholian on an away mission. Am I right? And you hear the security tell, aye, sir.
All right. Well, we've got a number of fine Starfleet officers. Let's make sure that we return with the same amount.
All right. With that, the shuttlecraft departs the USS Pride and starts making its way down to the shuttle. As you are all flying towards the planet of Bajor, you can see just outside the viewports of the shuttle, the Tholian Widow fighters still in a formation near this incredible ship. As you have exited the Pride, you hear Lieutenant Marceau just say, shuttlecraft, I've got you on visual.
All right. Hope we're looking good.
Looking good. Smooth ride. I'm going to stay up here and just keep watch on these widows. They don't seem to be doing much.
Remember, we've got guests coming. Let's as soon as they come across our sensors, make sure that we keep them informed with everything that we got going on.
You hear Marceau say, I'm sorry, Captain, guests? We're expecting guests?
Oh, yes. There should be the USS Olympus, I believe, and 2 birds of prey.
It's the USS Appalachia.
Appalachia.
Yeah.
Apologies.
The USS Appalachia, which is a steam runner class. And then, when you say this, Marceau's quiet for a moment and goes, well, that's a show of force, Captain.
I really like my home now that I found it. I'd like it to stay the way I found it.
Understood.
I would also like, if I could, to have that activate our command ship ability, which immediately passes our traits onto away teams and allied vessels.
Okay. That's right. USS Pride is a command ship.
Whenever we're in comms range. So once we're in comms range.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You should also, as part of comms range, be getting a copy of our sit rep right up until the last few things.
Yeah, I'm thinking about as soon as y'all enter the atmosphere, you start getting immediate comms contact. And then you receive sort of the green light as Zarya smiles and says, okay, I've got something. Commander Cadence, come in. Do you read?
This is Commander Cadence.
Zarya smiles at you, Captain.
Hello. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No problem at all. Are you in communication with Pride?
I am, but not for much longer.
Neutron scan as soon as possible, please, sir.
That's
the Romulan vessel is thought to be in the area targeting tech. Repeat, Romulans are thought to be in the immediate area.
I'm immediately trying to get that back to the to the Pride.
Zarya's eyes widen as you can see passing over the Andorian's face. You just know y'all are so vulnerable out here. The command staff in a shuttlecraft, if there is a possible Romulan cloaked vessel with unknown weapon potential lurking out here, you can see the immediate alarm on Zarya's face. They say something in Andorian, which probably translates to "oh fuck," as they lean forward and start immediately relaying this information. And that's when acting Captain Tavine starts getting this information back from the shuttlecraft, that there might be that Ghost Phantom Romulan ship that has been sort of lingering on the edge of y'all's eyesight this entire time might be in the area.
Lieutenant of Raleigh, let's get on that scan then.
Listen,
who is taking the
scanning
the helm, continue with the path to move close in so we have hopeful communications with Griffin Wing while we're nearby. We won't have the captain's leapfrog, I suppose, for long.
You might need to eat your mic a little bit more.
Shoot, we'll get in there.
That's okay. Raleigh nods and says, yes, Lieutenant, working on it. Commander, we're working on it.
It's a whole new scene, and we have aux points.
You do?
Can I use this opportunity because one of my crew members is looking rattled to rally?
Yes. With the new scene, I'll let that. Yeah.
So I think he's just going to lean close and just go, take a breath. We are vulnerable, but if anything were to happen, it would have happened by now. Focus on the task, and by the time you know it, will be feet on the ground and then feet back on the pride. You got this.
Zarya smirks at you.
And we have the one momentum, right?
Yeah.
I would like to spend it if I could for the extra die.
Okay.
Okie
Make your roll.
dokie.
Kentucky Ducky.
Okie dokie them.
Exactly.
Presence command 16 with 3 die. Come on, baby. Okay, that is going to be a 9, a 13, and a 3.
Okay.
Could I argue for the focus of inspiration?
Yes.
All right, so that gets us 4 successes.
Okay. We're successes. So pump up that momentum.
Pump
Alright, we're
up
at
the
total 4.
jams.
As you were all entering and the atmosphere and the scan starts taking place, at about that point, Acting Captain Tavine, you get the registry from you. Raleigh basically swivels in chair as they're working on this and says, Lieutenant Commander, I've got 3 starships coming out of warp just on the edge of the system.
Identifications?
It's USS Appalachia, and I'm reading 2 Klingon Cavort class warships.
Hmm.
And I'm going to immediately award myself 1 threat for escalation.
Oh boy.
However, the odds have just suddenly dramatically shifted because that is an escort vessel that was built after the time of the Defiant to counter the Borg, and that's 2 updated Klingon Cavort class bird of preys that are now entering the system. That's a lot of firepower that just warped into the system. So
Has the situation report made it back to the Pride? Have I been updated on?
yes, I'm going to say at this point you're getting static interference
Okay.
coming through, but you are getting the report back of what the situation is planet side.
Just because we were able to get the
Mhm.
Jaren was able to get it, and then we were able to hear from Jaren. So I wanted to know if we were able to
Right.
get that. Okay.
Right,
So
right.
if I just want to know how Tavine is going to react to our allies showing.
Right. Okay.
So if you're able to get in contact with them, that means that you're able to pass along the trait. So they should like essentially immediately be brought up to speed because the second spin was for communication, making it fast, rapid, and concise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
We're
Yeah,
all
then
insightful.
I would like to get in contact with our 3
Yes,
backups.
Okay.
Captain Tavine, let's fucking go.
Okay.
I
one
think
sec.
she's going to ask them to stay like nearby, but we are not being aggressive right now. Like we have inherently done something that is escalation by bringing them in, and Tavine wants to keep this as low like agitation as possible now that we know that we have a like tentative brief alliance happening. She wants them to remain like weapons down, keep your space, but like just we'll be in contact.
Okay.
And we'll keep them apprised of what we know as well.
You see appearing on the view screen, you see the small compact bridge of a steamrunner class escort ship. And they are wearing very different uniforms too. It looks very similar to a lot of the war era uniforms worn during DS9, but it's very sparse and very direct. The woman that's sitting center chair is a black woman that looks like she's probably in her mid to late 50s. And you see coming up on screen the identification of the USS Appalachia. She identifies herself. She says, Captain, Lieutenant Commander.
Acting Captain, Lieutenant Commander Tavine here. My captain is planet side with the away team.
She
We
nods,
are
says-
experiencing some scattering effects due to our guest, the catechist. It is becoming difficult to conduct conversation. We are finding our ways. It's just a little slow at the moment, but we can fill you in as we are able.
She nods and says, "Understood, Pride. This is Captain Madge Sinclair of the USS Appalachia."
Thank you for responding to our hails.
She nods and says, "I'll coordinate with our Klingon friends to make sure that a diplomatic solution is still an option.
Thank you, Captain.
We'll
We
be
are
at your location in about 35 seconds."
Incredible. Thank you. We currently could use your help. We've gotten reports that there may be a cloaked Romulan vessel with less than pleasant intents, either in system or planet side already. So if we could use your systems as well to broaden the scope of this search, we would appreciate your assistance.
Concern that passes over his face is also mixed with confusion as Captain Sinclair says, "Why would the Romulans be taking hostile action? We're literally in alliance with them right now as we move their citizens away from the Hobus Star."
It's a rogue party taking particular action. That's all the information I have at the moment, unfortunately, is that it may be a Romulan vessel.
She nods and says, "Understood. I hope we don't have any older Klingons commanding these two vessels."
Let's hope so.
Appalachia out.
Thank you, Captain. Above table, Tavine didn't divulge anything that was out of
No.
You did
allowed. Okay,
perfect,
okay.
Captain.
Wanna make
Broke
sure.
all the rules, Brig forever.
I mean, at this point, I think Tavine would prefer the brig over its center chair. So
You sit there and you like it.
Caitlin's having a
I
blast.
have to.
Cut to the shuttlecraft touching down just on the perimeter of the meeting point that's happening right now. You can see as the shuttle touches down, it's only a few moments later before the ramp just lowers down. And you see the captain, security team, you see senior staff step out, just missing a few of the bridge crew. But Captain, you see as I have described it to Cadence, there is a squad here. They outnumber you guys, and they look like they're heavily armed, but none of their weapons are out. You can see clearly what looks like the captain of the Catechus, which is standing near Cadence right now, flanked by two of their own officers. Peaches is also here and is flanking Cadence.
Do they have hands?
They do. They have arms, hands,
Gun
and
hands.
multiple legs.
I would like to create a trait if I could. I think being in person with them, we have tried vocal communication and we have had troubles there. I think Jared is going to try the different hand languages that he knows, like kind of going from like a universal ASL type deal to see if there's any that responds. And I would like to create the trait adaptive communications.
Okay.
Which sign languages do you know? Like, do you know like Bajoran SL?
I think
like,
he knows Bajoran, ASL, and I'd like to think that there's like a hyper aggressive like Klingon version.
I was like KSL. Please let it be KSL.
That kind of feels like crumping. It's I think it's just gonna.
Oh my god! If you know sign languages, I bet there was like a dialect on the station that you grew up on that was like unique to like that. So you probably have that too.
Right. I just
the home
love
sign.
the idea of this being a solution to our communication issues. So I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, it's a novel modality. I don't think there's any record of us having tried any such thing, and it could well be easier for them to translate. Who knows?
It seems like we're having the trouble with verbal, so that's why I was like, let's try to find something comfortable for them.
Yeah. It seems like what we have here is a failure to communicate.
Okay. So approaching, so you're going to spin momentum to create that. Is that right?
That brings
I'm
us down to
creating the
two.
trait adaptive communications.
Okay. As you stride up to the captain, You see Jaren taking point, and this Vosrex, this large Tholian captain, regards you. You can hear the mechanized whirring of the EV's mech suit. It kind of you can sense immediately to Aeon that it puts Zarya a little on edge. She's keeping a relaxed demeanor, but you can see the tension in her neck muscles as she's eyeing the captain, ready to draw if she needs to draw, but she's just watching them thoroughly. So little is known about the Tholians and how they interact. The few interactions that they've had, again, have not been positive. There's been a few miscommunications. There's been one incident where there might have been some cooperation, and then there was a few incidents where the Federation got involved with the planet-side massacre of their own people. Like, they're very difficult to understand, and you can sense that uncertainty coming from Zarya as she stands there and just watches passively, but her antennae are stiff. And knowing her body language, you can tell that she is ready to quick draw if she needs to. She's just on edge as the captain gets close to their captain.
I try to give her a reassuring look, like, we're not going to fight on Bayshore. We got this.
She nods to you. The Aux crew security team that is flanking her also seem to just be ready. They're just very calm. They look like they're waiting for a peaceful solution, but they every now and then they glance at Zarya to see what she is doing.
I do think, almost not fully in contrast, but a lot like the rest of the security team, Taeon is definitely ready to get into action if action is needed, but also at the same time is remaining visibly calm.
Okay.
So
go ahead and do your
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You were doing your hands. You were creating your trait. Do your thing.
Okie dokie. So I'm thinking this is going to be presence command, because this is like he's keeping in mind they don't really understand intimidation. So with that, he's keeping his posture pretty neutral and letting the expression come from the messaging in his hands.
So I would definitely say presence command will communicate that you mean no harm, but if you want to actually try to communicate using this, I would say it's more likely a reason or an insight command.
Gotcha. I will do insight, because that one has 1 point better. Gang, you mind if I spend one of the momentums?
Sure.
All right, here we go. That is a 6, a 16, and an 8 under 16. So
6 and a 16. So how many successes? Let's see. If you needed
that
3
is
successes. 3? Okay. So you begin trying some of the techniques that you know. And the captain turns and begins to watch you. And watches you in silence as you what do you attempt to say to him and communicate with him?
It's essentially apologies for miscommunication. Is this better? Is this something that insightful tactics would work with, or insightful combat?
Not here, no. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I might say if this was a negotiation, insightful tactics might work, but in this, like, the Tholian regards you as you say this, and you see he shifts a little bit left and right, and you're not sure what this body language means, but it looks like he's pondering what you're saying. He turns once again to what you now know is likely his science officer and begins to speak to him. You can hear that screeching even from behind the EV suit as the two of them speak back and forth. And a few moments later, the captain pivots back to you and says, "Commendable. Communication. Clever."
I'm going to say we try, and then I'm going to run we try in the different hand signs that I know. Okay.
The Tholian watches you for a moment, and then you hear the servos of that suit move as he raises his hand and shows you. He has what appears to be from the looks of it, perhaps 4 slender appendages, no thumbs. They just move, they just kind of arc out. They just sort of branch outwards. They look like they are quite long, and you can see the efficiency. You can only imagine that these are probably used for, it looks like they have many more joints than a human hand has. But you can also see there's a little bit of a complication with trying to mimic your movements as he watches your hand gestures. And finally lowers his hand and just says, commendable.
I would like to spend an ox plate, since this is a new scene, to activate Peaches.
Okay. Peaches will be activated. I need somebody to roll me a d12.
11.
Damn it.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you not want your crew to be prepared for you, Captain?
Okay, Aether Spoon.
Thank you.
Aether Spoon is now activated.
Thank you, Aether Spoon.
Oh, that's Dr. Conway. Hold on, that's the wrong.
Funny you mentioned that. I'm with you, Cap.
Okay, so let me see what the focuses that Peaches has here. Peaches has, you're gonna love this. Peaches for focuses, Peaches has transporters, emergency repair, and counseling. Nothing that's no focus that's really gonna help with this, but
Gotcha.
still has a pretty high reason score.
And,
What would you? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, Captain. Do you have?
Oh no! Well, please, if you have an idea,
I actually also had a Peaches associated notion.
okay. Yeah, I'm fresh out of cleverness.
Mhm.
Peaches, if you can set up a relay and API, maybe we can get some holographic communication if their hands aren't useful for our modality of communication. Can they interface holographically?
I'm not sure if I could do holographically. However, Commander, you are onto something. I could use my forward-facing interface to show images. They would not be three-dimensional, but I could certainly pull upon databases and references that could be a visual display that could help with communication greatly.
Whatever can facilitate them talking to you, talking to us.
Understood, Commander.
Captain.
What they used to call this in the old days, playing a game of telephone. Let's get it.
Something like that. Sir, been keeping the seat warm for you.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and establish this now that we have now entered into a diplomatic scene, which is technically kind of leaning into social combat.
Yeah.
Even though it's not combat per se,
Mhm.
but you are now
No, that's very calm.
you are now in sort of a negotiated position. So do me a favor before we start, and this is another opportunity to raise some insight if you need to. But real quick, Captain, make me, if you would please, a insight command check with a difficulty of 5.
Difficulty of 5.
Does insightful fighting kick in?
This is what's that?
Does insightful fighting kick into this one?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. So go ahead and use that. Because essentially what you're trying to do is, as negotiations start, as you're beginning to engage with the Stolian captain, you need to ascertain specifically what's their emotional state, what is it they want, what is their needs here. So
this might involve using last determination, guys.
Well, 5 down to 2 because it's 3 stacks of insightful fighting.
Mother Flurver, we planned in advance. Okay.
mhm.
Yeah, you did. You have a whole talent about it, Cap.
That's only when there's a hole in the ship. All right, here we go.
Well, that'll never happen because we have double tap. We put the holes in the ships.
How much momentum do we have, gang?
1.
And
presently.
momentum.
I'm gonna use the last momentum if you guys don't mind.
You should do that.
Okay, thank you. Because okay. That's 1 failure with the 17. That is 1 success with the 10, and then that is going to be 2 successes with the 3.
Let's go.
Because negotiation kicks in for this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is 3 successes.
So total, how many successes total did you get?
3.
Plus the 3 from on a difficulty
Oh,
2 now because it's
right.
5 down to 2. So we
Okay.
get 1 momentum back, bringing us back up to a total of 1.
Gotcha. Okay, I follow you now.
Plus 2 plus 2 plus 1.
For a second there, I felt really bad because everyone looked so happy that they had failed their test. I was like, do I break it to them that they missed the mark by 2? Yeah, you're right. Okay, so to give you an idea of where this captain is right now, the captain of the Keticus is Vosrix seems impatient and a little agitated. He's not showing it very much because it doesn't read like it normally would, obviously, for the many reasons I've said before. But you can tell that despite the fact that him and his officers are not making hostile moves, he actually seems like he may be on the verge of taking dramatic action. Like his impatience has grown throughout this entire conversation, though it has been productive. And to conclude that, Captain, as a quick reminder, because you scored so many successes, Tholians are known for being something of a bull in a china shop when it comes to getting what they need. They will just travel the shortest distance between the points in order to accomplish what it is they're after, even if it's running over their allies.
I would like to attempt to communicate that aggression will lead to more irritation, and that communication is the most direct path to what they're after.
Okay. He listens to you and responds in a few moments. You see, while you're saying this, by the way, images begin to appear essentially on Peach's belly.
Yeah.
Start flashing up like a big digital Care Bear, just kind of appearing. Show
Campbell.
They just show all of these images of handshaking and all they just see it all flashing up on this black screen that is essentially the front part of Peach's body. And as this is happening, the captain pivots and looks at Peaches for a moment and then back at you. And as it processes, the captain replies in that heavy mechanized voice, "This is why we are speaking."
Sir, the aim right now seems to be to coordinate against the Romulan who is attempting to target Tech. So far as I could ascertain from Captain Vosrex here, the location of the Romulans or any potential assailants are currently unknown. But there is an open offer to work together to locate and manage that situation.
I find that to be agreeable. As a sign of good faith, I can confirm that I have the location of Chief Engineer Tech, and as a sign of good faith, I need for them to drop the scramble field over Bajor.
Presuming that it doesn't also interfere productively with the Romulans, so at minimum we can know what kind of case we're dealing with.
All right, then that's the button we press. And I would like to try to communicate that to our Tholian friends.
Okay. Now we're in social combat because he don't want to do that. That is not in his interest right now. As you're asking this, the Tholian, you can hear him start speaking as you're speaking. It almost sounds like he's interrupting you with that impatience. Let's go ahead and make this a roll. This is going to be an opposed task roll. So
we got one momentum in there.
This is resisting persuasion. If a character resists when faced with a request, it becomes an opposed task. The asking character first rolls an appropriate combination of attribute plus department and set the difficulty. So whatever you roll is going to be what I have to roll against.
Gotcha.
Difficulty then can be altered by such factors such as traits like deception, evidence, intimidation, or negotiation. The resisting character rolls in response using whichever combination of attribute departments makes the most sense given the circumstances. And this is how we determine in this opposed check how this is going to go.
Okie dokie. All right, so now's probably the time to use that last determination.
Yep, take that, please.
All right, we are spending the momentum to get an additional die. Clear. Then presence command. I am going to spend the determination using the value. Oh, this is going to be the value. We are in the heads of the prophets. This is my home.
Yeah,
I'm right. I'm not. There is no room for negotiation when it comes to Bejor.
You are literally in the hands of the prophets.
Okay.
I'm
What's our
going
momentum
to.
at?
I'm going to spend my determination, which lets me get 2 spins of it rather than the 1. So, this is glorious. I'm putting it in chat. That is going to be a 1, a 9, and a 2. But it's actually a 1, a 1, and a 1. So that's going to be 6 successes.
Okay, so my difficulty is 6. So I, in response to this, am going to reveal that you are talking to a major NPC.
Mhm.
So he is going to call upon his determination, which is only the emergence matters. And he is going to spin that determination. And then,
This is a negotiation, right?
yep.
Does insightful fighting go into it?
No, it's not a fight.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say in the case of like trying to learn a possible opponent's battle stance in the beginning of this, but we've already determined that. So I would probably say
We're
it's not
trying to make the best case
Yeah.
compatible with what we understand their tactical approach to be.
I think the only reason, based off of Thulian web preparation and I forget what the other one
Communication.
was. Communication, yeah. You've what I know about what he knows. You've left out what would be important here that would apply.
Does my
Okay.
focus in negotiation do anything other than the crit? Just checking.
No, it just boosts,
Gotcha.
yeah, it just basically boosts up your ability to
Gotcha.
yeah. Okay.
All right,
And you
gang.
look real cool when you do it, is what happens.
Yeah. You've basically thrown everything you can throw into this roll.
Yep.
And it's gone pretty well. So now I'm going to pull this up and find out.
Oh, there is
How-
one more thing. Sorry, one more thing.
What's up?
I'm here. I've actually been setting this whole thing up for my captain to hit it out of the park. May I roll my assist, please?
How would you assist in this as he
I
starts
have-
all of this?
I have been setting this, like, I've been laying the groundwork. I apprised the captain of the immediate situation right before he talked to Vosrax. I was part of the sort of social scenario and setup for it.
Then I would argue that's not an assist, that's creating a trait for when the captain arrived. So what I
Okay,
would say, if you want to burn your determination, I would let you create a trait that would work in your favor for the scene, because you have laid the groundwork of communication with Peaches and set this up. In which case, I would basically reduce the difficulty for the remainder of the scene by 1 for that trait. And in this case, the roll, I would increase the difficulty by 1 for him to resist what the captain is saying, bringing the difficulty up to 7 successes that he needs in order to achieve that. It also will establish that for the rest of the scene, the Tholians will believe that you have honorable intentions or at least want to work with them.
All right. Well,
Does that
the
seem fair?
captain is my crew. And if you don't look out for your crew, you're no pilot.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to, then we will say, we'll establish a trait, peaceful contact.
Yay.
And because of the peaceful contact that Cadence made and spinning the determination and creating that trait, this is going to be harder for Vosrex to assume that this is not in his best interest. What's up?
Peachful contact. Thank you.
And I give myself all that threat back. It's amazing. Sam doesn't care. Sam just does not care. Sam
They're such a good cadet.
I'm going to spend 2 momentum and change that trait to hatred. Established hateful contact. Okay, so let's see. It's how much
We hate because we're
for
great.
extra? So 1, 2, 3. Right. So 5. Okay, I'm going to burn all of my threat down to 1.
How
And
much threat is that?
Oh, you get your determination back. I burned all of it.
Boom.
I burned 2, 5. I burned 6 threat just now
Gotcha.
to give myself a full pool of d20s to roll on you.
Gotcha.
And you'll be happy to know, though, that he does not have a focus that's coming into play here. However, he has spent a determination. So 2 of those d20s, one of those d20s, rather, is already a crit. So I've got 2 successes, and now we're going to roll. This is going to be control plus command.
Well, I don't know about the prophets, but the Dazzler has blessed us.
And I'm rolling 5.
You're in the paws of the Dazzler.
Oh, yep, it's 5d20. And I need 7 successes. You lucky motherfucker. I rolled a 4, a 2, a 14, a 17, and 11 for 4 successes with my determination spend. That's actually 6 successes. If Cadence had not used
Peachful contact communication.
if Cadence had not set that up, the Vosrix shifts and ponders this and stares at you for a long moment. And finally, that mechanized voice says, "Will comply."
All right. Then this looks like the start of a beautiful alliance.
Be aware, possible Romulan operative may escape.
As soon as it comes down, I would like to communicate to the Pride and to our temporary emergency fleet to be on the lookout for any cloaked vessel.
You hear
Already on it, Captain.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The Pride hears you as the scattering field effect ends, and transporter access has been restored.
Pleased to hear from you, away team. Is there any assistance we can provide in the immediate moment?
Let us know if you know about those neutrons.
Working out as we speak.
Yeah, the Pride's not detecting anything. A couple of the Tholians finally approach as their away team sort of gathers around the captain, and they seem to be having a discussion for a moment. And after a few beats, their away team begins to shuffle back towards the shuttles.
I would like to send a hail out to D Space Nine to see if they're receptive for a diplomatic meeting of the minds.
Zoe can relay that. Say, stand by, Captain. I'll put you on a relay message with DS9. You're on, Captain. I've got DS9.
DS9, this is Captain Jiren of the USS Pride. We've been able to de-escalate the situation with the Tholians. They've been kind enough to allow Bejor to reestablish communications, and in turn, I would like to have a meeting with Chief Tech, the Tholians, aboard your station, if you're willing to host such an event.
A few moments pass when you hear Kira's voice come back on. It says, shh, bit of static, and then coming through, you hear Captain Sharon.
This is he.
Static again.
I am really getting sick of static comms.
Zoe pivots in her chair and looks at you, Savine, and says, "It's not interference on our end."
Can you localize where the issue is coming from here?
Something's jamming the transmission at source.
Captain, I'm afraid there's a chance the vessel we're looking for may have followed their target when we dropped him off.
Emergency transport.
When you say that, the Tholians react immediately when they hear this on the comms. There's a screeching from the captain as he just suddenly abruptly and violently turns. And you can hear the thunderous slamming sounds of this mechanized suit against the pavement as it dashes towards the shuttle. The other Tholians do the same. Bajorans literally have to jump out of the way as these Tholians run up into their shuttlecraft and just... The shuttles begin to take off before even the back begins to close. As you feel this wave of heat emit from the interior of the shuttlecraft just as they're closing up. And they begin to launch immediately.
Yep.
Pride to the Appalachia.
This is the Appalachia. Go ahead, Pride.
Brief update. We have formed a temporary alliance with the Catechus. Do not pursue in any hostile way. It seems they are also after the same mark. Unclear of what their current trajectory is, but they seem to be moving with alacrity. So do not be aggressive, but keep an eye and watch yourselves.
Understood,
So,
Pride. Be
don't get in their
aware,
way.
we have detected alarming transmissions emanating from DS9. A few civilian vessels have been calling for help.
Would you be willing to split off ahead of us while we collect our captain?
Understood, Pride. We'll go investigate ahead and report back.
Thank you,
We'll
Captain.
leave our Klingon friends here to keep watch.
Right out.
The USS Appalachia comes about and starts plotting a course as she starts heading away from Bajor at full impulse.
Captain, I've sent the Appalachia over to Deep Space Nine. They'll get a look before we get there.
We're making our way to the shuttle. We should be with you shortly. See if you can get in communication with Deep Space Nine.
You hear Marceau on comms as you're loading into your Peregrine, and you can hear Peaches docking underneath. Marceau just goes, Commander, I don't know what the hell's going on, but the Tholians just suddenly exploded into action. All of the Widow fighters have just reattached to the main ship.
Yep, we're going to get on out of there, go back to the nest, everyone, double time. Get a spot on a carrier.
All right.
And get out.
With that, the bridge crew's scrambling. You guys head back to your respective shuttles. Zarya goes ahead and takes the second shuttle that was taken down here originally. And you guys all launch planetside in a quick scramble to head back towards the USS Pride. By the
And have
time
Zoe keep working on if there's anything that she can get through in the 2 minutes that we have to wait now for everybody to show up. We're hoping that see if Zoe can get anything.
Okay.
Okay.
What's up?
It's a silly idea. It's not a necessary idea. It's a
What
silly idea.
Give it to me.
I want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Griffin wanted to catechus room for one more.
There's some screeching. Tell you what. Make me a presence command check. And this is going to be at a lower difficulty because of the success of the previous rolls and your contact with the captain.
I'm sorry, it just sounds really fun.
It sounds really good.
What's the difficulty?
The difficulty is 3, so it's not easy, but you might be able to pull this off.
Did we get a momentum back because they didn't meet our...
Oh yeah, 1.
Yeah,
We
you
got
get one
one back.
momentum.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hey, there you go. Do you want a momentum?
Yeah, yes. I want to fly on the big ship.
Oh, so now you want to fly on the big ships.
Even bigger bird.
Biggest bird.
I mean, yeah, any bigger than this is a cube.
Again, yeah, it's literally the next classification over.
I got a natural 1
Let's go!
and an 11, which means I pass.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. You receive essentially what would be confirmation and message that there is in fact a universal docking collar that they use for trading. that they direct you to immediately. And when it pops up on the screen, you see you're not going to be able to dock in the vessel, but you'll be able to dock along the vessel. It will have access to an airlock, so you could go inside if you wanted to, die without an EV suit. But you would have access, but you are cleared. Doesn't seem the Catechist doesn't seem to mind. It doesn't seem to pay too much attention, but they do make it quite clear that they're about to jump out of system.
Cap, I'm going to liaise on site, if that's all good with you.
I have a feeling even if I said it wasn't, you'd do it. Just don't die.
That's the plan, Cap. And they zoom, flip, park.
Okay,
Yeah.
as you race up. Marceau just goes, I cannot believe you right now. I'm kidding. I'm taking Griffin Wing back into the main cargo bay, Commander, but just know that every single one of us is really jealous of you right now.
You don't ask, you don't get, Marceau. See you over there.
You hear, as you say that, you hear Devar say on comms, just so you know, I'm calling you Spider Rider from now on. As everyone moves back in, the shuttle bays touching down in the main cargo bay, the USS Pride comes about and sets a course for DS9. You attach to the side of the Tholian Dreadnought. In the universal docking clamp that they have been able to use, it looks like, interestingly enough, it's kind of difficult to see from the outside, but Cadence, as you get closer, it looks like so alien compared to the rest of the ship because it's clearly designed by someone who is not Tholian and built onto the side of the ship to, or it was the design itself isn't Tholian, but however it was built, it does not match the rest of the ship. So it stands out like a sore thumb as you get closer to it. But you are on a wall of ship by the time you get to it. The Catechist comes about, and the scary thing about this ship is how quickly it maneuvers despite its size. Roughly the same intensity as the Pride, as it just begins to shift suddenly. You see that spinning mechanism that is on the sides of the ship begin to just rapidly move as energy begins to build up, and it jumps to warp.
Peaches, I'm teaching you a new word. Yeehaw.
I have to do something, if I may.
Do it.
As soon as we get on, I am calming the bridge. Tavine, everyone's on board. You have my mark to go.
Ensign.
I want to hear what your thing is.
Well, the thing is that she learns from the best. So, in fact, she does say, Ensign, you heard the captain. Let's swing.
Okay. With a big smile on the face, that is indeed what happens. You guys jump to warp. Everyone just bolting out of the system as quickly as possible. Head straight for DS9 to uncover what's going on. Klingons fall in rank behind all of you, informing the USS Pride that if there's a fight, they refuse to be left out of it. And with that, we are going to end tonight's episode, Tholian Problems.
Oh.
Clearly a bad name for the episode, as you all managed to successfully, peacefully disarm the situation and not jumping to conclusions or being too reactionary. I mean, also just doing the impossible because of the Pride, which, by the way, was the game-changing moment for this episode. Getting tech off planet side, I just wanted to say, as your GM, that was the clinch moment of the entire session, because you completely changed how the Tholians were going to engage. Now that tech was off the board.
That's all. That's just our fleet. That's the paragraph right there.
So
Tholian's problems, who's got them? Not us.
We're about to become someone's Tholian problem.
Let's go.
I would say please keep track of this in your character's personal logs, because tonight is an excellent example of how you met Starfleet's priorities of peaceful contact, of gaining possibly new allies, of resolving a situation without resorting to violence, of reaching an understanding with an alien race that could be hostile. Like, you guys across the board did a good job. I was a little clinched up when you jumped to warp to DS9 because of the complication range, but I should never doubt our helmswoman, because
And with that new ability, I'm going to be using that in some pretty good moments.
Double your crit range
I do, for my
Yeah,
5.
it's the same move I did with.
Bananas.
when I
So-
use Starcross. We'll
Yeah,
find
that's-
them. Yeah.
I learned it from you, Drac.
But it's worth noting. I just want to keep everyone apprised of the situation. We are going to be back at our usual schedules, but next Monday is not the Last Excelsior. Next Monday is Noirville. So stay with us. We'll be back next month, the beginning of next month, and with what is going to happen and find out what is going on over at DS9. Thank you, as always, to everyone who's been supporting the StreamPunks. And we appreciate you. We love you, Ox Crew. Thank you for coming with us on the away mission. And we will see you next Monday night. Until then, friends, hailing frequencies are closed.
Bye.
Yeehaw.
Oh, I forgot I'm the tech trader. All right. Bye.
Yeah, that's